scene, which is where we are heading next on Grandstand AFL.
ABC Sport now has its very own newsletter, and we'd be pumped to have you on board.
Woohoo! The ABC of Sport will provide a wrap of all the best stuff that's happening in sport every week.
Simply go to abc.net.au/connect
and get ready for a sport hit in your inbox every Friday.
Get on board with the ABC of Sport newsletter
for content that makes you think
or allows you not to.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
We're gonna be kids.
Grandstand AFL
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Couple of finals hopefuls collide at the MCG tonight in Saturday night football as Richmond host the Western Bulldogs. 11th and 12th on the table. Their aspirations much loftier than that in season 2022. Each 1-2 through their first 3 games. Richmond defeating GWS in round 2. The Bulldogs winners at their last start, and under clear skies here at the MCG, the two sides collide this evening. Joel Peterson with you on Grandstand AFL. What a day of footy we've had thus far. West Coast squeaking past Collingwood. Earlier today, Sydney coming from the clouds to beat North Melbourne, who grimly hung on but just couldn't get across the line. And earlier today, Adelaide with a third AFLW premiership on a massive weekend for sport right across Australia and really right across the world. Great to have Chris Rowbottom alongside me to call it all. Chris, good evening to you.
G'day, Joel. Great to be here. It's been a while since I've been at the MCG due to COVID and other things, of course. But what a game we got on our hands tonight. The Tigers and the Bulldogs, both with middling starts to the season, and a loss tonight for either team. You start to feel that it's almost season on the line, particularly maybe Richmond. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Tigers bounce back after they got run all over the top of last week against the Saints.
Couple of big ins for Richmond. So Ben Miller comes into the side, so too Dion Prestia and Jack Riewoldt back into the team. So Prestia from a hamstring in round 1, Riewoldt from that thumb injury. Dylan Grimes goes out, the co-captain. Arts, Ross and Soldo also make way. For the Western Bulldogs, Lewis Butler comes in for his first game since the middle of last year. Tim O'Brien for his debut in with the Western Bulldogs colours. Bailey Williams and Lockie McNeil also come into the Bulldogs side. Out go Cordy and Keith, both injured. Wallace, who was the sub last week, out of that selected side. Rourke Smith and Mitch Hannon out through the health and safety protocols during the week. Our experts on Grandstand AFL are in place. Brisbane Lions Premiership star Chris Johnson. G'day, Jono.
G'day, guys. Great to be here. I can't remember the last time I was so excited to come to the MCG to see 11th play 12th. So really looking forward to it tonight. The way Richmond go about it. Obviously, Chris just spoke about how they got dealt with last week. But again, the Bulldogs as well. They haven't hit their full straps just yet. And I'm looking forward to see what they can produce tonight.
Alongside Chris Johnson is Saints champion, Western Bulldogs AFLW coach and Australian Football Hall of Famer Nathan Burke. G'day, Burkie.
Gentlemen, lovely to be here. And, you're right, John, 11 versus 12. But I'm going to put it very succinctly. Are the Dogs back and the Tigers gone? That'll be my assessment at the end of the night.
It is, of course, Richmond have got the second oldest list in the competition. They've got the second most experienced list in the competition. We know all the success that they've had, but there is a fairly big task ahead of them as they line up tonight. How do you see this one playing out? Gentlemen, we'll start with you, Berkey.
Who knows with the Tigers? They're 25 points up halfway through the third quarter last week and got absolutely pumped from then on. No Dylan Grimes. That's a really big worry for me. Their game style hasn't really evolved a lot over the last 3 years from when they were winning those premierships. And the Western Bulldogs hit 9-17 last week against the Sydney Swans. So it was a bit of an ugly game, but you have 26 scoring shots against the Swans. You're in pretty good form.
Yep, the one thing I'm really looking forward to is this defence of the Bulldogs. They've lost two of their key defenders in Cordy and Keith, not down there. So you're going to see how these other likes are standing up at the moment. In Ryan Garner, he's going to start down there as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how Tim O'Brien goes down in the back line as well on Noah Bolter.
That's going to be an interesting matchup. It's a very tall Richmond forward line too, so they have gone big. It's almost small ball versus bully ball as far as the two sides are concerned tonight. So one of these sides looking to move to square the ledger in this young season. For the loser, it gets pretty difficult even in the early stages of the year. On Grandstand AFL, here's Chris Rowbottom.
First bounce underway here at the MCG. Nankervis won it down. Bontempelli palmed it to Dunkley. High ball inside 50. First clearance for the Bulldogs. It was off hands to Bailey Smith. Flying shot on goal. Opening second. Touched on the line, Ben Miller. A minor score, the first score for the Dogs. We might be having an early score review. So off hands, Ben Miller got back. Score review.
I'm 120 metres away from that, and I can tell he touched it 2 feet before the line.
Yep. So going upstairs, and it looks to be well touched before the line.
Even with our broken binoculars that we've got here down the front, Birkin, we still knew that one was touched. So the Dogs with the opening score of the game. Jaden Short waltzes out of defence for the Tigers, pumps them up to the southern wing. Up in the pack, not able to mark, was Lynch, spilled to ground. Pickett, tackle, ball knocked out. McRae goes hunting for the football for the Dogs, out toward the boundary line. It's out and over the line, and it'll be thrown back in, southern side. Bulldogs kicking to the city end here in this opening term. Richmond have won the last 2 matches between these two sides, including a 22-point win last year. English has been so good in ruck so far this season for the Bulldogs. Gives away a free there. Nankervis farms up the handball. And Parker's got it in the centre of the southern wing. 3 goals last week. He was very, very good against the Saints.
So Parker, outer side, will send Richmond towards right half forward. Big fly came, unable to be taken. Off hands. Dogs work it through McRae. Now it's Hunter. His kick was smothered by Parker when it's out of bounds at right half forward for the Tigers.
So that was a big fly by Bolter then, and he got 2 hands to it. That was Lynch. Early days, you get 2 hands to it, you can really set yourself up for a big day, but he just dropped it again.
So Dale goes in at half-back for the Dogs from the stoppage. Smith, handball to English, back pedals, flips it up to Hunter, left it behind, got caught, holding the ball, no. Rioli got him, but didn't get him well enough, according to the umpire. Some fierce stuff in the centre square. Great tackle from Prestia.
Well, we've seen that relaxed. I think from round 1, from now, it's been very, very relaxed, the drop in the ball. I think the umpires need to go back to it because players are confused.
English goes up in ruck. McRae feeds it forward to Smith. Clearing kick to the outer side wing. A bouncing ball. Pickett's first there for the Tigers. Handball to Broad. Dropped it in as he tried to collect. Handball to Baker. Baker comes in board to Short. He went without it. Norton's up at half forward to try and wrench it back for the Dogs. Broad's kick curled up the southern boundary line. Bolter attacks it. O'Brien out the back. And they settle here through Richards at half-back, the Dogs.
So Richards will switch the play. Bailey Williams waits patiently, takes the market. Right half-back for the Dogs. Dicey, old kick towards half-forward. Liberatore shrugged the tackle, who send the ball inside 50. Norton took it on the bounce, handed it off to Waitman, who snaps around the body. It's across the face. It'll bounce through for a minor score. So Western Bulldogs, 2 behinds. Richmond yet to score. 3 minutes and 20 gone in this first term for Grandstand AFL.
Let's get downstairs to Lauren Borden, completing our team tonight. Evening, Loz. Beautiful night here in the at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
It sure is, Joel. It's so warm down here, about 21 degrees. Fans just in their singlets and T-shirts at the moment down here. Jack Ross will be Richmond's sub tonight as they kick towards the punt road end. Mitch Wallace, 2nd game in a row, he'll be Western Bulldogs sub.
Of course, he was the sub last week and then managed to get himself injured in that contest. Bontempelli takes it on the outer side for the Dogs. Kick goes spearing up toward Dunkley. Handball to his running mate in Treloar. Treloar up toward half forward. The little give and go with Hunter to Smith was good, who gave it back to Treloar. Handballs inside the forward 50. Vandermeer a chance from the pocket. The sharpshooter. The first of the game for the Dogs through the agency of Latham Vandermeer. And some early opportunities have come to fruition. 1-2-8 to the Western Bulldogs. The Tigers yet to score. 4 minutes gone, opening term on Grandstand AFL.
I was thinking, why they handball so much, Berkey? I was just thinking, why? And then I looked back and I looked at the two key forwards, and they hadn't separated yet. They hadn't separated from their defenders, so they weren't too confident kicking to a one-on-one scenario until they got separated. But I thought they thought their way through it. And Vandermeer, that's just an opportunity that he's just grabbed. You don't really see players kicking him from that, especially when they're under pressure like that. That's a low percentage. He did have a couple of options on inside the corridor that were facing towards the middle of the ground, but again, he just took the composure there, and a great goal.
Back in the middle, Dogs strike. First blood here at the MCG. English won it down only as far as Bolton for the Tigers. Off to Prestia. Now it's Cochin. Richmond will go inside 50. Getting up was O'Brien. Couldn't take the mark for the Dogs. Bustling through was Dow. He was wrapped up. And you get a free kick for a high tackle. So Thompson Dow for the Tigers. He'll kick from just inside 50 for the Tigers' first of the night. Enjoying a good start to the season. Averaging 18 disposals across his first 2 games and 6 clearances. Thompson Dow. So when he comes, he'll kick from just inside 50. Set sail. It looks pretty good off the boot, and the Tigers have their first. Thompson Dow strikes. Western Bulldogs 1-2-8 to Richmond 1 straight 6. Just under 6 minutes gone, first term, Grandstand AFL.
Good to see Cochin getting his hands on the ball early, getting that centre clearance, banging the ball forward. Dow really attacked the ball hard. There was 3 Bulldogs tacklers, and just managed to get himself low enough to get one of the arms to slip over the head, and a lovely finish. You get the sense tonight that we could see a lot of goals early. We saw the Tigers last week and the Saints. Between them, they kicked 12 goals in that first quarter. So their attack was great, their defence not so great. It's looking, we've only been going sort of 6 minutes now, and we've got a goal each. I think we could be in for a high-scoring game.
That's good for us, Berkey, maybe not so good for the coaches.
Yeah, certainly not. They'd be pulling their hair out, that's for sure.
Yeah, the blood pressure maybe not quite as well off there from the restart. Bontempelli forced it forward to Treloar. The Bulldogs on the outer side through Williams. Goes up toward half forward. Bontempelli rises in the pack. Cochin in front of him. Bontempelli handball through the traffic. There was McNeil. Back to Bontempelli. Got tackled by Dow. Run down. Umpire says, give it to me. Inside the forward 50 for the Dogs. Kick the opener of the game. Richmond with the response through down. Norton and Nankervis in ruck. Nankervis slaps it out for the Tigers. McIntosh had his legs dived across. The kick goes out toward half-back where Graham chases it down. Dale right there with him. Graham goes again. Got grabbed without it. Free kick coming to the Tigers. At left half-back, Jack Graham's got the footy.
This is a player that I think Richmond are going to look to make sure he stands up this year. I think he's been able to do it when he's had good people around him and good players. I want to see how he goes about when he's got a few of those big names out.
Graham kicks long up the line, but Tim O'Brien getting across for the Dogs takes a good intercept mark. He concedes some ground to Daniel, who goes dangerously into the middle of the ground, looking for Bontempelli. He mopped up his mess. Eventually they work it through hand, the Dogs. Daniel on the end of it. He takes a bounce through the middle of the MCG. Off to Dunkley now, who's got Smith running out wide. He marks, he stops, he props. Handball out wide now to Treloar. He'll run to left half forward. Skimmer ball inside 50. It was too low for Ugle-Hagan. Back out to Smith, who spots up a target inside 50, straddling the boundary line. And it'll be Ugle-Hagan to kick for goal, tight up against the boundary, 45 metres out.
That was good by Ugle-Hagan. That was on his 4th effort. He went a couple of times when they were mucking around with it in the middle of the ground, and then he came back again on his 3rd lead. It was a bit low, and then it went back, and then he sort of faded back towards and took that ball on the flight back. That was actually good work by him.
So Ugle-Hagan, right where the 50-metre line meets the boundary. It'll take something pretty special for the left footer. He's ends it on its way. It's across the face. Couldn't get it over the line. Could the Tigers' defence a scramble on the goal line? Eventually, it makes its way over for a minor score. Bulldogs 1-3-9. Richmond 1 straight 6. 9 minutes gone. First term for Grandstand AFL.
Broad chips into the back pocket and finds Ralph Smith. Oh, hems the boundary line just The measure on the kick back to Broad, who marked only inches inside the paint, near where the boundary intersects the 50-metre line at half-back. Chips over the top as the Tigers slow things down. Rioli's had a good start to the season. He goes now for Pickett, who kicks around the southern wing. High ball to half forward. Revolt sits under it. Lynch came over the back of the pack, and Jack will get a free kick in front of it all. The advantage will be paid to the Tigers. Parker bursts away. Low kick from 52. Hits the base of the left-hand goal post. Tried to skid it home. Didn't quite have the finish. Margin 2 points through 10 minutes. The Dogs ahead.
Bailey Dale wastes no time out of fullback. Found Dunkley at right half-back. He releases the runner who just missed the kick up the line. McNeil was there, might have got a high one. In fact, he did. Umpire was onto it. Cochin infringing on this occasion and take his free kick right on centre wing, broadcast side. It's going to go back into defence to Bailey Dale. And the Dogs complete the switch. To the outer side they go. Here's Bailey Smith, left half forward. Little ball inside is good to the leading Liberatore.
It's a little bit too easy by the Western Bulldogs. They went from one wing back to centre half back, out to the wing. The Tigers still didn't have enough time to pick up their players, and they're using their feet to cut their way through far too easily. The Tigers are employing pretty much a zone across the field, and if you give these Bulldogs players half an inch, they'll hit a target.
So it was Vandermeer who took the mark. He'll kick from just outside 50. He'll take his absolute best. He misses to the near side. Another minor score for the Western Bulldogs. They're 1-4-10. Richmond 1-1-7. 11 minutes gone first term for Grandstand AFL.
I know Vandermeer's kicked the goal already, but that was just selfish. I thought he's probably launched that from about 45 metres out, Berkey, and it's just gone wayward. Thought he could have done a little bit better with that and probably put the defence of Richmond under pressure.
The Dogs take control from the Richmond kick in again. Richards was in there. Hunter goes inside the 50. Vandermeer the target. Did he get an arm across the shoulder? Yes. And so, free kick to go to the Western Bulldogs. This time it's Scott, in fact. Vandermeer was at the foot of the pack and Scott was among it all. Scott's got it 55 metres out. Centering kick to the top of the square over the head of English. McRae out the back. Handball toward Ugle-Hagan. Desperate stuff on the line. And eventually it's stepped across by Butler for a rush behind. Margin 4 points. Dogs ahead. 12 minutes gone. Opening term Saturday night footy from the Melbourne Cricket Ground on Grandstand AFL.
Two players are very busy at the moment for the Dogs are Bailey Smith and Josh Dunkley with 7 possessions each. Getting very busy.
So Rioli in short to Tarrant. The former Maroon kicks beyond defensive 50 to a one-on-one. Bailey Dale got across, affected the spoil. Parker unable to mark and will be out of bounds on the outer side.
The ghosts of last week's 9 goals 17 are coming back to hang around. 1 goal 5.
So in it comes Nankervis, won it down, pressure at the foot of the pack, got the handball up to Pickett. He was ripped off his disposal. Going in again was Edwards. He was tackled by Hunter, squeezed a kick out, only as far as Richards though for the Dogs. He's got some time and space to move in the middle of the ground, and he cuts across and finds Butler by foot. He's on the broadcast wing. Kick towards right half forward is a beauty, and an even better mark taken by Tom Liberatore. He's 75 metres out from goal at right half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Sees something he likes inside 50. Mark unable to be completed. Richmond will run it out through Ralph Smith. Looping handball over the top now to Revolt.
So Revolt gets on the right boot. Kicks a wobbly old thing up toward half forward. It was spinning every which way. Bailey Dale's able to trap the bouncing ball at half-back in front of the interchange gates. Shoots the kick inboard to Richards, who swings it across the back of the centre square now to Smith. They open up the southern side here, the Dogs. Smith kicks toward Hunter at half-forward, who ticks back up at the ball and takes the chest mark. 65 out, pops it into the pocket for English, who takes the mark and gets dragged down. Dogs fans want the ball advanced. Tim English will go and take his kick. The big number 44's got it just about that distance out and a pretty tight angle to the left.
They've just got options everywhere at the moment. The Dogs, I looked up as that ball went forward, they didn't have just their forward 6. They had wingers in there, they had midfielders in there, and they've had the ruckman in there. So the options for the Dogs at the moment coming forward is just unbelievable, and the Tigers just aren't able to get back quick enough.
Having a career best season in the early stages is Tim English from just inside the 50, strikes the kick narrow. And they've got 2 goals worth, the Dogs, but they've done it in 1 goal 6, so 7 scoring shots in 14 minutes. They lead by 5 points on Grandstand AFL.
Rioli, kick in, Judy's. He made Gibcus work for it. It was over his head. Now there's a big tackle laid by Scott. McIntosh managed to get the handball out. Tigers not out of trouble yet. Broad. Now Graham gathers the loose footy, cuts inside, sees a target inside in Baker. He's got it in the middle of the ground. He progresses things this time to Bolton, gathers on the half volley, back to Graham, who kept running. Now it's Baker on hands and knees, back now to Nankervis. Kick inside 50 was ugly, and getting back was English, who took the mark.
Very good work rate from the big fella. Flips the handball over the top to Hunter, darts his kick up the line. Finds Vandermeer. The Dogs will come up the southern side. Long kick on the head of Norton. Got a couple to beat. Miller and Tarrant right there. And it goes over the back of the maul and out for a throw-in.
Difference between both the sides at the moment. One team going forward don't look rushed at all in the Bulldogs, Berkey, and I think the Tigers at the moment, they're just rushing the ball forward, trying to get it forward any way they possibly can.
Around the grounds, Fremantle by 2 points over GWS over in Perth. 2-2 the Dockers, 2 straight the Giants. Ball's tossed back in and slapped straight back out toward the boundary line. Left half forward, Dogs into attack between the wing and half forward out on the southern side. The Dogs 1-6, plays the Tigers 1-1.
English and Nankervis. English reached in over the top. At ground level was Koch, and then Pickett had to release the quick hands, which he did to Rioli, who was streaming off half back for the Tigers. He spotted up Revolt, who's a long way from home. He'll pump it long for Richmond. He's got Bolton at the back. He used his body and took the chest mark, and he'll kick for goal. 25 metres out, slight angle.
Spoke about Richmond before, about their forward movement, but certainly that there, Berkey, off half-back, a link of hands, they look the best they've looked all night.
Bolton plays on, kicks around the body, and nails Richmond's second. So the Tigers 2-1-13, Western Bulldogs 1-6-12, 16 and a half gone. First term for Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, and good bit of direct play there by the Tigers as well. They've been sort of zigzagging their way up and down the field. But Jack Riewoldt leading up the ground and weighted his kick perfectly over the back to Bolton. But Tim O'Brien, he's done some really good stuff early. He's come out, he's taken a mark, he's affected a couple of contests. On that occasion, he just allowed Jack Riewoldt to come up and take that mark through the middle of the ground. And you give Jack that much time and space, he's going to hit a target up forward. So Tim O'Brien, he got to play to his capabilities. Let Jack take you to the footy and then beat him one-on-one. You can't be just getting too fancy and trying to read the ball.
Big assignment for him tonight. The first gamer for the Dogs after 8 seasons at Hawthorn. Out of the middle, Smith and Bontempelli force it forward. Scott almost with a mark as he went backwards through the pack for the Dogs. Handball to Prestia in the centre of the ground. Releases the run of Graham. Has to make him work for it. Paddles it to his own advantage. Almost ran into Waitman in the centre square. Handball back to Prestia. Kick smothered. Ralph Smith crashes in. And then Graham takes down Caleb Daniel. 2 South Australians collide in the centre here at the MCG. Pretty hard nuts, the both of them.
One thing that's very evident at the moment is the Dogs' defensive pressure is at a high level.
Bolter rises in ruck. Big double slap, or double-handed slap inside the forward 50. Baker went without it. And Smith shows them a clean pair of heels inside the D50 for the Dogs. Handball to Dunkley, handball to Daniel. Still just inside the defensive arc. Feet on the paint. Handballs back to O'Brien. Cuts the kick short to Williams, and the Dogs will start the chain again.
So Bailey Williams into the middle of the ground, spots Duray, left foot kick towards half forward is good. Here's Scott, handed it off to Vandermeer. Ralph Smith got a hand in though. It ends up with Butler. He was tackled, cries of ball, umpire says play on. Wonderful work at ground level from Baker. They knock it forward, the Tigers. This is like the premiership era. Bolton now brings it under his spell at left half forward, kicks it out in front of Jack Riewoldt, who couldn't get it to sit. Eventually got it to scrubby ball inside 50, unable to be taken at ground level. Daniel arrives on the scene for the Dogs. He clears things and he'll find a target in Butler out wide. Had to wait for it to bounce. He has time though. Butler for the Dogs at left half back. Kicks up towards a wing, but getting across was Broad, taking the relieving mark for the Tigers.
Picks it off pretty easily to Short in the centre. Such a lovely user of the football. Puts it out in front of Castagna. Butler got a hand in there to knock it away. Ralph Smith on the edge of the 50. Now to Parker. Swings it on the right boot to full forward. Revolt in the pack. So too Lynch. Dunkley at their feet. Bolton works his way through. It'll hurdle from Lynch there to get back to the football at the top of the square. Got tackled. Dragged into the mess. Holding the ball. The goal line stand from the Dogs' defence. And it's Liberatore who comes up with the free kick at fullback. Tigers by a point, ticking into time on in this opening term.
So Liberatore, last line of defence, who cleared defensive 50 with a long ball, but standing tall was Tarrant, who took the mark for the Tigers at right half forward. He'll opt to send them long and deep inside once again, and that's exactly where he goes. Top of the goal square, big fist coming across O'Brien for the Dogs. He spikes it out of the bounds for a boundary throw-in 5 metres around from the right-hand behind post.
Bontempelli's been doing the ruck work for the last 6 or 7 minutes. If I'm Noah Bolter, I am sharpening my knees and jumping into him as hard as I possibly can. Every single one of these.
In it comes again. There is Bolter. Couldn't get the tap, but swooping on a loose footy was Bolton, who had a flying shot on goal and he missed. A minor score for the Tigers. 2-2-14 Richmond. Western Bulldogs 1-6-12. 21 minutes gone first term.
They've stood up well here, the defence of the Bulldogs. They've been under pressure. There's been repeating side forward 50s by the Tigers. Kept the ball in there at the same time. They've been able to stand up and they've been able to get away with it a little bit here.
Chris Johnson on Grandstand AFL alongside Nathan Burke, your experts here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground this evening. Daniel outside the defensive 50. Lovely collect on the half volley by McNeil. Was really made to earn it. Short kick inside the centre square to Bontempelli. Plays on by hand to the run of Bailey Smith, who sends it out wide looking for Butler, and a free kick off the footy. Is it Vandermeer who's been put down inside the 50? It might be Anthony Scott. It is. It was a long way off the ball. The kick was out at left half forward, and Scott's 30 metres out directly in front where he got tangled up with Miller.
The one saving grace for the Tigers is that all of the shots at goal from the Western Bulldogs have been from difficult positions, out wide, 50 metres. This is the easiest one that they've had so far in this game and may put them in front.
So Anthony Scott comes in. Kick 2 already this season on the left boot. That's a bad miss. That is a really bad miss. 30 out directly in front. He's only just snuck it in for a point. Dogs trail by one behind. 22 minutes gone opening term.
Jaden Short resumes things. Short into the back pocket for Broad. Short receives back. He's at right half back for the Tigers. Opts to go just dig one up the line. It was onto the shoelaces of Castagna, who was unable to gather the footy at ground level now. Contested ball. The boundary line will elude all players and will spill over for a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Western Bulldogs, who trail by a point. And it comes. So Bolter and English to contest. Bolter got to the front, got it down to Cochin, who won it across to Prestia. His kick was a shocker into the middle of the ground. Liberatore had to wait for it. He gathered, was eventually claimed by Graham, and it was holding the ball. So the Tigers will get out of jail and Graham will take the kick. That half back for the Tigers.
Shoots it out wide. Bit of run from Castagna out to Short. It pumps it inside the forward 50. 3 Dogs fly. Revolt stayed down. Hands to it from Richards into the pocket. It almost spilt to Parker. Oh, and then Richards was taken high in the tackle. And Jack not especially happy with all of that as he got flung off Ed Richards like a bucking bronco. And the Dogs can relieve the pressure from the defensive 50. Richards, a dangerous kick outside toward the interchange gates. Gardner flew against Lynch, and then as he collected the ball, got shoved across the boundary line rather unceremoniously. And it'll be spun back into play. Left half forward, Richmond into attack. They've been the far more accurate side in the opening term. The Dogs 1-7, the Tigers 2-2. 24 minutes gone the opening term.
In it comes. Bolter does the ruck work again. He fed out a wonderful handball into the path of Edwards, who tried to get it over the top to a teammate in Graham. He eventually gathered it, centering ball off his left boot, inside 50, flying across, unable to take the mark. So I think Parker, who was eventually gathered by Bailey Williams for the Dogs, who kicked to English, who was in a 2-on-1. He stood tall and took the mark at right half back for the Western Bulldogs.
Important, he took that one. He was surrounded by 3 Tigers. If he had hit the ground, would have gone straight back inside 50.
So English will concede ground back to Daniel. He's 15 metres out from the goal mouth. Short one to Treloar is good. Yet to clear to defensive 50, the Dogs. They do now as Treloar goes to Bontempelli. He spears a ball to the broadcast side, finds Dunkley. He plays on by hand to McRae. Now English, back to Dunkley. Short 20-metre kick back to Bailey Dale. Inside now go the Dogs. Tim O'Brien has it on the broadcast wing.
So O'Brien will go laterally to Dale in front of the interchange gates. Tigers by a point through 25.5 minutes. In the other game, Freo by 9 points over the Giants late in the opening term. Daniel, lovely kick. Spotted Dunkley in space at right half forward. A kick and a half from home. He goes short on the 45 to Smith. Smith goes to the pocket. English in the pack. Norton in the pack. Tarrant behind it all for the Tigers on the last line. Oh, Broad got stepped across the boundary line. Umpire says throw it in. Right forward pocket for the Dogs at the city end of the ground here in this opening term, and they're pressing for a late one.
20 metres around from the right hand behind post for the Western Bulldogs. Norton does the ruck work. McRae waits at the base. He got it off to Waitman, flying shot on goal, but he missed the lot. Won't register a score. Richmond lead. Well, they're going to check this one. And I think
that one was out on the full by 3 metres.
I think that was very, very much out of bounds on the full. We had a pretty good view of that one, it has to be said.
The goal review person gets paid on commission, so they have to get a certain amount of reviews in to earn their coin.
He's sharing it with his goal umpire, whatever money he gets, because he kept sending them upstairs.
Good grief. What exactly are we going to determine from either of those replays?
That the ball was out on the full. All the players know it. They're all set up for an out on the full. There we go.
And there it is, the confirmation. No score, so it was wildly out on the full.
The Dogs are actually happy with that, because 1-8 is slightly worse than 1-7.
Richmond ball at the left back pocket, clears defensive 50, only as far as the contest. Gardner was there, he got his head taken off. Umpire agreed. He'll take his free kick just forward of the wing for the Western Bulldogs.
Chip short to Daniel. Daniel tries to clear a path. Short on the left boot to the edge of the 50 where McRae marks. Bolton almost encroached. McRae was wise to it. 60 metres out from the Dogs' goal. The All-Australian loads up, looking for English, who flew, got a hand to it. Dunkley was waiting to rove, but it was out of play before he could collect it. In the right forward pocket for the Western Bulldogs.
Got to do something with those long bomb kicks inside forward 50. There's just don't look like taking a mark.
Tigers by a point, closing in on quarter time. English in ruck for the Dogs. Knocked out. Norton collects, snaps and curls it home. When they needed someone to stand up inside the forward 50, they turned to their star spearhead. And Aaron Norton brings a stop to the right. 5 consecutive behinds, 1 out of bounds on the full. And he says, with his first opportunity of the night, I'll show you how to do it. 2-7-19 the Bulldogs. The Tigers 2-2-14 through 28 minutes of the opening term. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
Well, Marcus Bontempelli there was in the stoppage. The ball was sort of bouncing around a little bit volleyball style. But it was Bontempelli just had the smarts, the vision out of his corner of his right eye, just to flick the ball backhanded to Norton, who was standing by himself. Far too much space, and a lovely snap, but just really smart play there by Bontempelli.
So back in the middle, deep into the first term. And there's been a whistle, a 6-6-6 warning by the looks of it to the Western Bulldogs, who lead now by 5 points. Deep into the first term, 28 minutes gone. From the restart, and Curvis won it down, able to be gathered by McIntosh, hacked out of the air by Koch, and straight up and under. And there's the siren for quarter time. Western Bulldogs 2-7-19. Richmond 2-2-14. The Dogs by 5 points. Goal kickers for the Dogs, well, there are only two. Latham Vandermeer and Aaron Norton right before the buzzer. And for the Dogs, it was for the Tigers, I should say, it was Thompson Dow with their first and Shea Bolton kicking their only 2 goals of the term.
They made hard work of it in that opening term, the Dogs. Plenty of opportunities. Couldn't find the major opening as much as they would have liked, but they do hold the lead going into quarter time. 2-7. The Western Bulldogs to Richmond 2-2. In the other game, closing in on quarter time, Fremantle 3-5-23 to the Giants 2-1-13. So a 10-point lead to the hosts in the West. In the Dockers, winners earlier today in thrilling fashion, West Coast over Collingwood, likewise Sydney over North Melbourne, and the AFLW Premiers for 2022, Adelaide defeating Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval earlier today. Quarter time here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground on Saturday Night Football. Great to have your company. It's the Dogs 2-7 playing the Tigers 2-2 on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Ready for some new adventures? Back Roads is back. From the macho mining town of Tom Price in WA to outback Queensland and Tasmania's Cradle Mountain, join me, Heather Hewitt, and some of my fellow guest explorers for a journey to some of this country's most remote towns, full of surprising and memorable characters.
All new Back Roads. New adventures Monday nights on ABC TV.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
The little give and go with Hunter to Smith was good, who gave it back to Treloar. Handballs inside the forward 50. Vandermeer a chance from the pocket, the sharp shooter.
Thompson Dow comes to kick from just inside 50. Set sail. It looks pretty good off the boot. The Tigers have their first. Thompson Dow strikes. He'll pump it long for Richmond. He's got Bolton at the bat. He used his body and took the chest mark. And he'll kick for goal. 25 metres out, slight angle. Bolton plays on, kicks around the body and nails Richmond's second.
Tigers by a point, closing in on quarter time. English in ruck for the Dogs. Knocked out. Norton collects, snaps and curls it home.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Norton did what many other Bulldogs couldn't in that opening term, finding the major opening. 2-7 to start for the Dogs. They hold sway after the opening quarter. 2-7 to 2-2. The Dogs over the Tigers. Joel Peterson and Chris Rowbottom calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company. Wherever you're listening, if you've been back at community footy this weekend, great to have local footy and netball and in some parts hockey all back as part of the fabric of regional communities especially, but also in metro areas as well. Let us know where you're travelling to tonight or what you're doing. 0437 774 774 0437 774 774. Lauren Borden on the boundary completes our team to take you through the course of the evening. A good start in terms of possession for the Dogs, Berkey and Jono. They couldn't get the answers they were after on the scoreboard, but they certainly had enough of the ball.
Certainly did. They had 39 more possessions than the Tigers. Went inside 50 13 times for 9 scoring shots and 1 out on the full. So that is an amazing percentage of having shots for goal for inside forward 50s. When they were able to switch the ball from one side of the ground to the other side of the ground really quickly, they invariably had a shot for goal because they found that short pass leading up inside 50. To Tigers' credit, all of those forward entries were fairly high. They pushed them out. They weren't able to get the ball to the goal square. When Richmond tightened up on their defence and they didn't let them take the ball from one side of the ground to the other really, really quickly, then the Bulldogs, they maintained possession of the ball pretty well, but then inside 50, all they had left was the big bomb. And there was no one down there for the Bulldogs who were able to take that big contested mark because Nankervis was down there and Tarrant was down there and others were down there. So it just looked a little bit more haphazard. So when Richmond tightened up their defence, far better when they slingshot off that half-back line, that's when they look like scoring, Jono.
Yeah, you're right, Berkey, and you know there's the Dogs are winning almost every stat, which every factor of the game at the moment. The only one they're not really winning in is the stoppage clearances around the ground. 8-3 in favour of the Tigers at the moment. So the Tigers are actually, that's the upper hand that they've got at the moment, and they've got to be able to try and utilise that as much as they possibly can, because the Dogs at the moment, they're dealing with the high ball. I spoke about the defence, and I'd be interested to watch them. A couple of long high balls, Berkey, that I like the way the Dogs' defence handled that. They were very, strong in how they wanted to do it. They didn't want to, be touch and go. They were very aggressive with their spoils and sending it back onto where it needed to go, and they were able to get around at ground level at the same time. But the one thing I think that the Tigers should hang on to, the Dogs are overusing the ball a little bit by hand, and I think what they're going to do, they're going to hang on to that ball a little bit more through the midfield. They're not confident in going to Ugahagan. They're only confident to go to one key forward down there, and that's Norton. They look for their smalls, so the Tigers need to know that don't give up on the chase, because there's going to be an opportunity that they're going to be able to run down some of these Dogs as they overuse the handball far too much.
You know that if there's one side that can bring pressure when they're on, it's this Richmond team. We've seen them do it so many times, and that handball can work you into a little bit of bother every now and then. 10-point lead to Fremantle at quarter time in the other game at Perth Stadium this evening. 5-point lead to the Dogs here as we get the second term started. Michael Pell lays it down in the centre of the ground. McRae's instantly onto it. Treloar takes possession. Gives some ground with the handball. Big bump from Giray at half-back for the Dogs. Came clattering in over the top of Baker. Baker laid on top of the football, and he forces a ball up. It's centre-half forward for Richmond. McRae off the stoppage. Handball to Bontempelli. Slams it on the left boot toward half-forward. Ugahagan pushed through the contest by Miller. It sits out the back for Gibkiss of Richmond. Handball to Short. Directs his kick to the southern side wing. Oh, running shotgun and reading it beautifully off hands was Pickett. Drives it inside the 50 to the chest of Riewoldt. Jack takes the mark 45 metres out. The gather from Pickett, just cruising past the marking contest on the wing, was sublime.
Joel, you can't teach that. The front and square or the timing, and then the way to kick to a full forward leading back with the flight of the ball. That's just all talent right there that we've seen.
Your word you used the other week, John, I like, was nous.
Yes.
That was nous from Pickett. Has Jack got the nous in front of goal? Not quite on that occasion. He leaves it narrow, one behind. Margin 4 points the way of the Dogs. The Tigers with the opening score of the second term.
2-7-19 plays 2-3-15. Advantage the Dogs in the early stages of the second term. Caleb Daniel brings things in from full back. The kick was good to Richards, but Richards ended up spilling the beans. Long kick now towards the goal square for the Tigers. Offhands Daniel at the base of the pack. Works it by hand to McRae. He missed Smith with the handball. He had to mop up the mess. Kicks beyond defensive 50. Miller got across for the Tigers. They work it out now. Chain of handballs. Rioli down to Dow on hands and knees. Slapped it into the path of Prestia. Eventually retreated back to Short. He'll pump the Tigers inside 50. It was all Dogs. Fist came across. Races on back towards the goal square. Little soccer across goal from Castagna was clever. Unable to effect the assist. It came out to Gardner, whose kick was straight up in the air, and getting underneath it was Marlon Pickett. Will have a shot for goal right on 50.
Well, Lockie Hunter did the right thing then, and he pushed towards the boundary line thinking that Gardner was going to have that kick out of the goal square in towards the boundary line, but he hooked it back too far into the centre and found his opponent, unfortunately.
So Marlon Pickett, what a story he was back in 2019. He kicks right on 50, sends it home, and it never looked in doubt. Marlon Pickett kicks the Tigers third, and they're back in front. 3-3-21 Richmond, 2-7-19 the Western Bulldogs early stages. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
I reckon what you try and do is, when a team has been so successful for a long time, you try and look for cracks in it. What I've seen in that passage of play there, Berkey, is that was a team goal. It's going to go next to Pickett's name, but that was a team goal. They got the ball long inside their forward 50. They competed it there, got to ground level. They kept the ball alive. It was still alive. There was 4 Bulldogs on the defensive line, and then it was just their small forwards of putting pressure, where it forced the defenders of the Bulldogs to actually put a rush, high, long kick in where Pickett was able to mark. So, they're the little things that you want to see from Richmond inside their forward 50. We know they can bring pressure, but that's certainly a team goal.
Chris Johnson with you on Grandstand AFL alongside Nathan Burke. Bailey Dale in the middle of the ground for the Bulldogs at the restart. Kicks inside the 50. Ralph Smith desperately dives to spoil. Hunter was cruising past, collected, gave it by hand to Vandermeer. Kicks to full forward. Norton almost the mark. Tigers control the ball off the pack. Miller to Gibcus. Swings it across the defensive 50. You can already see the way that he uses the football. He is a player to watch in the future. Was Martin who gave it off to Graham, in fact, who gave it off to McIntosh, and now to Broad in front of the interchange gates. Kicks long to Lynch. With a run and a jump, he stretches the arms out and plucks it. Sends it inside forward 50. Bolter rises up, can't take it. Almost there was Castagna in the pocket for the Tigers. Daniel shares it by hand with Bailey Williams, who kicks outside the defensive 50, and Broad rises above the pack to pull in a good mark just inside the centre square, 70 out from the Tigers' goal.
So Broad with a chance to send Richmond back inside forward 50. He just stops and props and waits for things to set up ahead. He goes in that direction. Getting across was O'Brien. There might be a free kick for a push. In fact, there is. It will go the way of Giray for the Western Bulldogs. It's in the left back pocket. So Giray called to move it on. He clears defensive 50, goes towards the middle of the ground. He liked the look of Tim English. It was over his head though. Ralph Smith for the Tigers on hands and knees. Over the top came Cochin. Treloar fighting hard as well. Ralph Smith went again. Wonderful desperation. Fed it out to Rioli, who got it off to Miller. His kick was a scrubber towards the broadcast wing. McIntosh made it look pretty good though. Got it up to Graham. Inboard by hand. Thompson Dow's kick was no good. It was smothered, but it'll work out for Dion Prestia. He retreats back to Tarrant. It's a 15-metre kick. He's between wing and half-back broadcast side for the Tigers.
Tries to measure it along the boundary line. Giray got up, pinched it off Graham, but McIntosh ultimately claimed it, tumbles it inside the forward 50, and Bolter ran out of room as he tried to turn the corner on Williams, and it goes out for a throw-in. Right forward pocket for the Tigers.
Bolter just the one possession, and Tom Lynch just the one possession so far. Ugle-Hagan just the one.
So some of the tall targets pretty quiet for both sides. Cochin on the pack, taken by Bontempelli. Handball out to Bailey Smith for the Dogs. Kicks up the wing. Here is Ugle-Hagan. That's a strong mark in front of Miller. In front of the interchange gates. Kicks inside 50. Hunter used the body well, marks on the numbers of the 50. Has Waitman streaming to the pocket for the Dogs. Has Bontempelli arcing around. Feeds it in that direction. The Bont steps up to the plate and drives his shot at goal left from 45 metres out. 2-8 the Dogs. Richmond ahead 3-3. 6.5 gone second term.
Rioli in from fullback. Short into the pocket. Finds Tarrant. Tarrant just signals that he's going to get this moving long up the line, and that's where he goes in the Lynch direction. Gardner over the top. Lynch at ground level though. Won a handball out. Found a teammate in Graham who was immediately claimed. It'll be the ball up between wing and half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Southern side of the ground. Tigers by a point. 3-3-21 plays 2-8-20. Early stages the second term. The ruck contest. Well, Dowd did wonderfully well. He roved it, but Smith claimed him in the tackle. It eventually spilled out to Marlon Pickett, who went backwards by hand to Cochin. Inboard now to Nankervis. Faked one way, then the other. Pickett on the outside received. He turned it over to Treloar. Little kick towards half forward. Found Norton on the bounce. He tried the don't argue on Rioli. He was claimed. Umpire said he got his handball away. Contested ball at right half forward for the Dogs. Treloar was ripped off his kick. Contested ball still. Treloar goes again. He's claimed by Broad. Ugle-Hagan tackled Pickett to the ground without the footy, and he'll receive a free kick.
You want to see that aggression from Ugle-Hagan, but you just got to have the awareness to know the ball's falling out, Berkey, and not go through the tackle, and flirting with a dangerous tackle as well at the same time.
Gibkiss at fullback for the Tigers to Ralph Smith. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, your experts tonight on Grandstand AFL. Joel Peterson, Chris Rowbottom calling it for you. Lauren Borden completing our team on the boundary. Dangerous kick from Gibkiss. And Liberatore had the arms chopped by Miller. So Libba from in front of the interchange gates. The clearance king. Looking for options. Ooh, just swings it. Matt Suckling style. Across on the left boot through the centre square. Found O'Brien, handball back to English, and the Dogs do the reverse horseshoe to make it work out to the southern side now. English to Treloar, Hunter in fact, who ambles around and then retreats again by foot to O'Brien. He goes short, 20-metre pass to Smith. Still 80 out from goal of the Dogs. Smith goes short in turn to McRae. McRae's got Williams cruising past, who fakes a man out of his boots, loads up, launches from 50 and strikes the left-hand goalpost and leaves it wobbling. Scores tied, doing it in very different ways, these two sides. The Tigers 3-3, the Bulldogs 2-9. 9 gone, second term.
Just looking at the forward structure there for the Dogs, they had their two talls out at various different stages, and Burke just not confident to go to them at all. They just want to keep running the ball and trying to break that 50-metre line to have long shots on goal, which I call long points.
McIntosh received from Broad at right half back for the Tigers. He'll dump a kick long towards the ring. Rewalt over the back, couldn't take the mark. Dow at ground level. He's immediately tackled by McRae. Ball is wrapped to him, and there'll be a ball up right in front of the interchange benches. Up it goes. English and Nankervis. Nankervis won it down. Quick hands from Edwards were sublime, and the Tigers will go forward now. Good mark taken at right half forward by Castagna. It's too far out to score, but there's a 50-metre penalty. Bailey Williams just half stepped off the mark, and Castagna will be marched to well and truly within striking distance and should kick the Tigers fourth.
I reckon he's a little bit stiff there because the umpire has called stand and he wasn't quite to his feet. And as the Bulldogs do, they run backwards outside the 5 metres, and the umpire was red hot on that. If he's going to pay that, we're going to have a lot.
So Castagna, 15 metres out from goal, goes around the body and adds another one to the Tigers' tally. Richmond 4-3-27 via the Castagna free kick and goal. Western Bulldogs 2-9-21. 11 minutes gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
I couldn't agree more with you, Berkey. I was watching the play and then watched the replay as well, and they always want to get back from the man on the mark. They don't want to have to stand there and be almost helpless. So a bit unlucky, but I just get the sense at the moment the Tigers are just starting to get a bit of a rhythm here. They're starting to build, and they're starting to, you've got guys like McIntosh that are starting to get back into this game. Well, not back into the game. He's arrived into the game, 6 possessions so far, and he's really a key for them for the run and carry. Their wingers they rely so much on is Pickett, and they rotate someone always through there as a third winger as well. So they're really getting their tails up at the moment, and Pickett and McIntosh.
Robert Finlay lays it down in the centre of the ground. Tigers by a goal once more. Smith sends the Dogs forward. Charging up it was Scott. Had it knocked away. Taken away by Cochin. Handball to short. Long and direct all toward Lynch. O'Brien stood in front. Hands to it. English turned the rover. Nice bit of work in the traffic. Bangs it back through the centre square. Wonderful one-handed grab from Rioli. Rose against the body and dragged in with the 1 mitt. Sent it to Broad. Now to Prestia and another 50. He faked the handball and Aaron Norton pivoted to try and cover it. And as he did so, stepped off the mark with his left foot. And now Prestia will have a chance inside the arc.
It's a big penalty to pay. It was there. It's in the rules.
So Dion Prestia only played a handful of games over the last couple of years, besieged by injury, back into the side tonight and back on the score sheet in a big way. Tigers out to a 12-point lead, the biggest lead of the night for either side so far. 5-3 plays 2-9. 12 and a half minutes gone in the second term. Let's go downstairs on Grandstand AFL. Lauren Borden.
Yeah, Ed Richards is just back on running freely now. He did go straight down to the rooms and limped off. Had to get his ankle strapped, but he's back out there and he looks like he's not hindered by it at all.
It's a big price to pay for not a lot of movement.
It's a stupid rule. Sorry, it's just ridiculous. To give a team 2 goals. So it's before this, it was 3 goals to 2, and it's a tight game, and it's anyone's game.
Is the issue the rule or the penalty, do you think? I think the rule has served its purpose, but the penalty it seemed out of step with the infringement.
The whole lot stupid, Joel.
I feel like I'm not going to change your mind, Berkey.
Funny old bounce in the middle of the ground. It was down to McRae, who attempted to get the Bulldogs forward.
I was going to say that's a push in the back clearly to Waitman from Broad. Clearly.
Waitman was well and truly worked out of it. He goes inside 50 for the Dogs. McNeil at the fall of the ball. Couldn't grasp it cleanly. No one wanted to tackle Graham, who eventually got it up to Broad. His kick fell in the lap of Bolter. He scrubs one out. Tigers not out of defensive 50 yet. McRae outside of the right boot. It was no good. Rioli waits in the goal square, takes the uncontested mark, and he's got Pickett at right half back.
Pickett ambles outside the defensive 50. Long right foot kick up the members' wing. Lynch. Strong mark. The early body work on O'Brien, who scrambles off the mark. Goes inside the 50. Does Lynch to Bolton, who marks inches inside the paint. 5 in from the boundary. It doesn't look like he wants to go all the way. Chips it short. Prestia presents. He lays it off into the pocket. Oh, huge grab. Tom Lynch rises over the pack, commanding the 50. He started it on the wing. He's got a chance to finish it from the right forward pocket.
Well, I spoke about the Bulldogs' defence controlling the aerial contest. That there was just a little bit too much space that was given there by Tim O'Brien to Lynch. He loves nothing but that, to be able to run and crash a pack, and had the ball sitting right in front of his eyes there, Berkey, and launched up and took a fantastic contested mark.
1 goal, 2 in each of the past 2 weeks for Tom Lynch. From 20 metres out, he makes no mistake. And the Dogs have really got some headaches now. Richmond out by 18 points, 6-3-39 to the Western Bulldogs, 2-9-21. 16 minutes played in the second term on Grandstand AFL. Your experts are Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
It's unusual. Tim O'Brien has just been outmarked twice, and they're bringing him off the ground and bringing Taylor Giray on. So the Bulldogs backline have been outmarked twice and just taken off a tall and put on a small. So that's going to be interesting if the Tigers can get a quick centre bounce, which they have been very good at so far.
Interesting playing down back too. Like I think from his days at Hawthorn, I liked him as a forward more than a back, and he was certainly paying dividends there for the Hawks. So I can't understand why they're still going with it. I guess they have to. They're down on numbers, so they have to.
McRae for the Bulldogs, out off the restart. Left foot kick towards left half forward. It'll be Short that gets there first for the Tigers. Kicks around the body, up the wing. Wanted Parker, gathered, got the handball off to Edwards. He's taken over the boundary line. Boundary throwing right in front of the interchange benches. Richmond 6-3-39 lead. Western Bulldogs 2-9-21. 17 minutes gone. Second term here on a beautiful Saturday night in Melbourne. Big thump out of the ruck. It gains 30 or so metres and spills out of bounds for another boundary throw in. Taylor Giray sees it over. Another boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Tigers.
Got Rewalt and Dunkley doing the ruck at the moment.
And it's Rewalt who's victorious. Palms it down to Bolton, but Liberatore on hands and knees. Got it up to McRae, who went over the head to Bailey Smith. Left foot ball up the broadcast wing. It was off the hands of Miller and out of bounds for another boundary throw.
Now the Dogs are really struggling to find that second key forward who's going to attract attention and allow Aaron Norton to go one out. They're really excited this week when Josh Bruce actually started to join in more of the weekly training. So they're hoping in the not too distant future they'll get him back out on the field.
Key forward, leading goal kicker last year before his injury. McRae at the stoppage in front of the interchange gate, slams it inside the forward 50 and over. Let's go downstairs to Lauren Borden. The ball just went over the fence and it bounced off the top of the interchange gates. Loz, you showed absolutely no interest in going for that footy.
I watched for it, and I thought someone else has got that. I'll just keep sitting here and watch the play and watch someone else throw it back over the line.
Takes a bold boundary rider to fight off the others down there and go for the ball. Meanwhile, at the stoppage, McRae shows them a clean pair of heels and shows them his class. All-Australian the past 3 years, Jack McRae. It's moments like that are the reason why. And he gets the Dogs' first of this second term, 18 minutes in, 3-9-27 to 6-3-39, the Tigers. And that is a very, very classy stoppage goal, Jono.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you called it class. He's all class around the ground, around the goals. He's got good goal awareness. He knew that he only had a few steps to get around and actually put that onto his boot before the Richmond Tigers were going to come and pressure. But that was a goal needed by the Dogs. They've, there are only they're 8 inside forward 50s to 10 in favour of Richmond. They haven't had a lot of ball inside their forward 50, so they've got to make the most of the opportunities when it gets in there. But my concern is they're relying on these smaller types, Berkey, trying to kick the goals rather than looking at their key forwards.
Another chance here for the Dogs, but Butler had it ripped off him by McIntosh, who just wheeled around and he's gone. Bailey Smith mowed him down. The Dogs will go inside 50 over the top of McNeil. He tracks it back to the boundary. Half a shout for off the foot of a Richmond player, but nothing doing, says the umpire, as they get to their feet. It was Rioli. We'll have a boundary throw in as the Dogs coming in back to 12 points. 20 metres around from the right-hand behind post. Inside the Western Bulldogs forward 50. Nankervis won it down against Norton. In front of the pack was Waitman flashing through. Rioli gathered for the Tigers. Handball was off the mark. Liberatore got it up to Smith. High ball now. Fist came from Tarrant. Prestia couldn't clear defensive 50. Here's Bontempelli, tackled by Edwards. Turnover affected. Graham shoots the handball out to McIntosh, who dumps it up the wing, but Bailey Williams gets in the way for the Western Bulldogs and takes the intercept mark.
One of the inclusions this week for an undermanned Bulldogs defence with no Cordy and no Keith. Went back to Daniel. Daniel through the centre of the ground. Scott inside the forward 50, looking for Vandermeer. Couldn't find him. I think it was Giray, the kicker. And now short at half-back for Richmond. Measures the pass to Ralph Smith.
2 really poor inside 50s from the Bulldogs.
And a really poor kick to the wing from Ralph Smith that goes out of bounds on the full.
Well, Tim English comes running through the middle of the ground and tries to hit McNeil into the pocket. And that one tries to hit Vandermeer. He would have marked the ball probably on 50 anyway. You've got Norton down there. They're just not using him at all.
Trelaw from halfway. Here he is, Berkey, right on cue. Norton rises in the pack and pulls it in. Good thing you've got him wired up. Handball's off to Bontempelli, who scrubs it inside the 50. He stubbed his toe to Waitman, who got dragged down and caught. Daniel Rioli got him. Holding the ball, not for the first time tonight. Rioli rewarded on that occasion inside the back 50 for Richmond.
Even Bontempelli trying to be too cute. Yeah, Tim English in the goal square.
Taking on a Rioli inside forward 50s, always fraught with danger. Dogs have it here on the wing. Bailey Smith releasing handball to Daniel. Piercing ball up the line. Wanted McRae, got a hand to it, but only as far as Prestia. His kick was smothered back into the middle of the ground. Smith back to Liberatore. Dogs now through Giray. Left foot ball inside 50. Mark unable to be taken over the back. Eventually, it was Vandermeer who got ripped off his kick. And another wonderful defensive tackle from Richmond. It'll be a free kick to the Tigers, this time through Jaden Short. He concedes ground back to Broad, and the Tigers switch it to the outer side. It's with Camden McIntosh at left half back.
Goes for a gallop and a bounce. Sends it up the line over the head of Graham. Dale right there as well. Did he socket that out of bounds on the full? Umpire said no, bounced, and it'll be a throw in out on the southern side.
Just want to comment on Rioli. I think they've found the spot for him back there. He's looked very, very good this year. I think if he had stayed forward, he wouldn't be getting a game in this 22 at Richmond. So I think it's a good move by the Richmond coaching staff.
Contract year for him as well, Daniel Rioli. So he's made a very bright start to the campaign. Dogs clear from the stoppage. Kick up toward half forward. Gibcus battles with Vandermeer for the football. Spilt to Duckley. Curls it inside the forward 50. Bouncing ball, Tarrant and Norton. The former's experience wins out on that occasion. Low kick toward Pickett. Had Bontempelli hot on his hammer. Handball back to Miller. Left it behind. Tarrant at the top of the defensive goal square. Just knocks it on desperately. Broad, well done. Cool in a crisis. Got it out to Gibcus. Gibcus measures the kick outside the defensive 50. Tigers out of trouble now, and the captain Nankervis has got it at half back.
Nankervis marks the Graham kick. It was a floater and looked wrought with danger, but the Tigers will get out of it as Camden McIntosh takes the mark on the outer wing, wheels inside, kicks inside 50 now for the Tigers. Shallow entry, off hands. Bailey Williams paddles it to Duray. He's immediately wrapped up. We'll have a ball up just inside 50 for the Tigers, who lead 6-3-39 to the Dogs 3-9-27. 24 minutes gone in this second term. Up it goes. English, Nankervis. English who won it down only as far as Bolton, who concedes some ground by hand back to McIntosh. He goes to short. Long ball inside 50. Top of the square. Lynch too deep. Couldn't bring it down. Goes again, does Lynch. Now it's English. Ripped off the footy. It came out to Smith, who got the handball to Dale. He shares it with Caleb Daniel, who went one way then the other. Cuts inside, and the kick is a good one to Dunkley. He goes short to Treloar.
Treloar looks long, and a searching kick to the outer side wings on the money. Marked by Vandermeer just in front of halfway. Called to play on. Richmond fans made sure of that. Comes back laterally for Richards just behind halfway. Across the centre square now come the Dogs. Dale's got it. He looks to vacant space on the members' side and sees Bailey Smith, who dropped the mark under the pressure from Cochin. And the former Richmond captain won the footy back for the Tigers. Great stuff. Handball to Bolter, who's away with a bounce on the members' side. Kicks inside 50. Looking for Lynch out the back. Might find him running into the goal and jamming it through. It wasn't the way you'd expect your two key forwards to connect. But Bolter's work on the wing, and Lynch with the deft touch to kick his second. And the Tigers back out by 3 goals again. 7-3-45 Richmond. The Western Bulldogs 3-9-27. 25 minutes gone in the second term.
Well, you can either say good by Cochin or just poor by Bailey Smith. It was an easy chest mark that was pretty much in his breadbasket, and he just had it spent before he got it. And look, it was just fantastic, the pressure and the will and the want from Cochin to actually stay over that ball and not let young Bailey Smith to get it, and just kept the ball alive. And then Noah Bolter, he just shows how electrifying he is when he got the ball. He took off. Here's a guy sitting at, almost 200 centimetres, that just put his foot on the pedal and took off.
Back out to an even 3 goals. Back in the middle. Thompson down for the Tigers. Gets the clearance. Inside 50 they go. Revolt had to be 2. Couldn't bring it down. It came out to Duray, who got it off to Dale. He's got a man in space in Hunter. Over the top now to Bontempelli, who's got room to move on the near side. His kick towards left half forward is okay, but Vandermeer this time dropped the chest mark. Got it to Liberatore, who hit Norton on the lead. Lace out. He'll kick for goal. 40 metres out. Tight-ish angle.
It's one of the few times that Norton has had a fair bit of space to lead into, and he's a quick man. Once he gets in front, you put the ball out in front, no one's going to get past him. But it's the first time we've seen that opportunity today.
So chance for the Dogs to hit back here. Aaron Norton has one for the Knights. Who kick from about 40 metres. He leans back on it. It never looked like it as it misses to the near side. Minor score, Western Bulldogs. Tigers 7-3-45. Bulldogs 3-10-28. 27 minutes gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
Just the 2 marks tonight for Norton. That one and the one that Berkey conjured up earlier in the term. Almost by word association. Tarrant from the defensive 50. Pickett rises high in from the side. Pulls the mark in over Scott.
the height of the Western Bulldogs, it's not working for them around the ground. Richmond are really taking advantage of that extra height.
Oh, here goes Bolter with a launch over the pack. Couldn't pull it in. Dogs share hand passes in the tight confines. Wonderful kick from Bailey Dale. Hemmed in along the boundary. Cut it into the point of the back, or the back edge of the square to Dunkley, who sends it wide to the southern side. It sits in front of Bontempelli. He has Ugelhagen inside the 50. Kick not quite on the mark on the right boot. Ugelhagen tries to slide out after it. Rioli can mop up in the back pocket for the Tigers. Handball to short. Hangs it high in the night sky inside the defensive 50. Pickett goes up and can only knock it down to ground. In the back pocket, Tarrant had it pinched by Norton. Still they fight for the football. And then it's blasted out of bounds on the full. That was short again with a wild kick. And it'll be a free kick to the Dogs in the left forward pocket. It's either going to be Hunter or Norton, and the latter will take it.
The pressure there by the Dogs was good, just to keep the ball inside their forward 50. It should have gone out easy. The Tigers should have got that out, as a conventional defensive 50 exit.
So Norton to narrow the gap. He curls it home. That's a nice finish. And you'd expect nothing less from a player of his quality. His second goal. And the Bulldogs back within 11. 7:3:45 Richmond. The Western Bulldogs 4:10:34, closing in on half-time on Grandstand AFL.
The forward pressure there from the Western Bulldogs was good, but it needs to be good because they've got Norton down there, they've got Ugelhagen down there, but the rest of them are small players. And if they're not putting pressure on as small players, the ball's just going to come flying back out of there really, really quickly. But that occasion managed to put pressure on short and really made a silly decision by trying to blast the ball out. Should have just taken it across the boundary line, but wanted that extra stat and paid dearly for it.
Good contest unfolding here at the MCG, the Bulldogs and the Tigers. It's 11th and 12th on the ladder, but the contest certainly not befitting that status. Back in the middle, Thompson Dow with another clearance for the Tigers. He sends them inside 50. Revolt with the wonderful out-positioning of Bailey Dale. He read it like a book in the air, got underneath it and took the chest mark. He'll kick the goal from just inside 50 for the instant response.
That was O'Brien again. He just wanted to look for the body contact, but Rewalt just too clever, knew that it was coming, just sort of done that sidestep, Berkey, and then let O'Brien come through, and he just got to where the ball drop was going to be.
So Revolt, as you just heard, the siren has sounded for half-time. Jack can rub some salt into the wounds with a goal here. He leans back on the kick and misses wildly to the right, and it's just snuck in for a minor score, I think. So the Tigers, he's missed everything. The Tigers will take a 7:3:45 to 4:10:34 lead. 11 points into the main break. The goal kickers for Richmond in the first half. Tom Lynch kicked a couple. Dion Prestia had one. Jason Castagna, Thompson Dow, Shea Bolton and Marlon Pickett all with singles. And for the Western Bulldogs, Aaron Norton kicked two. Latham Vandermeer and Jack McRae have one apiece.
So a 5-point lead to the Western Bulldogs at quarter time, an 11-point lead to Richmond at the half. 7-3 plays 4-10. Earlier today, of course, a couple of rippers in the AFL men's competition. Sydney by 11 points over North Melbourne at the SCG, having trailed for much of the day. 5 goals to Jack Zeeble, a late one to Isaac Heaney, the sealer for the Swans. Under the roof at Docklands, West Coast know the turmoil that they've been through to start this season. 13-point winners over Collingwood, 14-3-87 to 10-14-74. So Adam Simpson and his Eagles will be very happy with that on the flight back to Western Australia. In the AFLW Grand Final earlier today, Adelaide by 13 points over Melbourne, 4-5 to 2 for Anne Hatchard, best of field, and the third premiership for the Crows. And in the other game, it's also half-time that's unfolding at the moment. 5-7-37 Fremantle to the Giants, 5-1-31. That game over at Perth Stadium. Nathan O'Driscoll, the youngster for the Dockers, of course, sister Emma plays for their AFLW team. He's kicked 2 goals, 2 goals to each of Jesse Hogan and Harry Himmelberg. For the visitors here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, it's half-time. It's Richmond by 11 points with their impressions of the first half. Our experts on Grandstand AFL are Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
It's a pretty even game, this one. There's 11 points in it, but the way the game is being played, the inside 50s, there's not a great deal of difference in those. I think that quarter was 14-16 in favour of the Western Bulldogs. Both sides are moving the ball really quickly. Neither of them are just trying to take the heat out of it. Whenever they get the opportunity to go quickly, get the ball inside 50, they're taking it, which makes for a good spectacle. It doesn't always come off. But I'm a little bit concerned about the Western Bulldogs forward line. Aaron Norton has kicked 2. He's really only had the one free possession when the ball actually hit him on the chest and he managed to go back and have a shot for goal. The other times they're going inside forward 50, it looks like the players coming through the middle are really uncertain where to kick it. They're kicking it to players that shouldn't really be on the end of that sort of ball. We know Cody Waitman is a pretty good lead and a pretty good mark, but they're not using him either. They're going to Vandermeer, and you can't. It's not Vandermeer's fault. He's just leading to the right spots, and they're using him. Whereas I think they can really make some better choices. I think Ugle-Hagan needs to get on his bike a little bit more and not be too concerned about, hey, I've got to get out of Norton's way, or I've got to make a hole for somebody here. I want to see him probably start a little bit deeper, come flying at the football and try and get some marks up around that 30 metres out from goal. At the moment, a lot of his work is sort of outside 50s. So get him a little bit deeper at times, get Norton up the ground at times. Just give the players a different look. Whereas for the Tigers going forward, I think I really love their pressure around the ground, getting the ball forward. They've only been credited, I think, that quarter with 8 tackles, but I reckon they've probably been dudded quite a few there because their tackling, especially across that half-back line and through the middle of the ground, was outstanding and turned the ball over, had some repeat entries. And Tommy Lynch, very, very quiet in that first quarter, started to get on top because when you're playing on, like Tim O'Brien's playing on Lynch, he's not a known defender. He can concentrate really well for the first 25 minutes, concentrate really well for the first quarter, but concentrating for the whole game or the whole half, that's a completely different scenario for a new defender. And I think we saw him probably switch off a couple of times and Tommy Lynch capitalised.
I think you're spot on, Berkey. It's, I think that forward entries for the Dogs, they need to look and identify whether one-on-ones are deep. I think going to a one-on-one 50 metres out compared to going to a one-on-one 10 metres out, you're probably going to get more reward from that. It's just basic percentages. If you get the ball deeper, you put the defence under a lot more pressure. So if they want to, go to those short ones, I think they need to be 100% on, and they need to make sure they're going to hit those targets. Yes, if they go to a one-on-one at 40 metres out, yes, it goes around, turns around, has a shot from about 40, 46 metres out. So, I think at the moment they're not going through Norton and Ugle-Hagan enough. They're just not confident. And we even seen Bontempelli come through at the latter stages there, came through, and Ugle-Hagan had got great separation from his opponent and just unable to hit that target. So the confidence of the Dogs at the moment going through and hitting targets in their forward 50, it's not there. But if you look at the margin now, it's 11 points, and it just takes me back to the two 50-metre penalties, that resulted into a goal really has made the difference and made the difference within this game. It should be a 1-point game in favour of the Dogs. Instead, we're sitting here and it's an 11-point game in favour of the Tigers. So, that's something really concerning. And I reckon around that rule, I reckon it's been relaxed a little bit. I reckon there's umpires that are really harsh on it, and there's umpires that are really relaxed on it. I reckon I've seen a couple last night, and I've seen a couple on Thursday night as well, where they did take steps off the mark, and the umpires sort of turned a blind eye. And it's a bit exactly the same here tonight. So some umpires, if you're gonna adjudicate it to the letter of the rule, well, we need all umpires across it, and that just doesn't go for the 50-metre penalty. I think the holding the ball and the dropping the ball there, we've seen so many umpires early in the piece, and even the back chat as well, early in the piece, really be harsh on those penalties, and I reckon they've been relaxed a little bit. So they've set this precedent in round one, and now they've just let it go out a little bit. So I think they need to come back to that. But in terms of the game, you look, the uncontested possession, that's where the Dogs are certainly winning more than anything else, but they're not getting any reward for it. So, it's 106 to 151. They're not getting no reward. The good thing for the Dogs, they were able to pull back the stoppage clearances to 11 apiece. The turnovers are certainly about the same at the moment, but it's just around that 50-metre, those two 50-metre penalties. That's the difference of the game.
It is a pretty even affair at half-time.
if you're a Richmond fan, you'd be pretty happy with the way Tom Lynch has played. There's been a lot made of his form so far this year, and the fact that he maybe hasn't hit the heights that people expect of him, but even, 2 goals in that first half, but a couple of really telling marks, Berkey. I think the way that he's imposing himself out there there's a lot of Richmond fans here tonight who would like the look of that.
Absolutely, and you can't underestimate the effect of Jack Riewoldt being in that forward line with him, because you know, if you're playing on Jack, you need to stay close to Jack because he can fly from any different angle, and he's such a smart player with the ball in there. That just allows Tommy Lynch to go one out with his direct opponent, and you probably give advantage to Tom in every single one of those occasions, especially playing on a guy who's not a well-known defender. So it's really important. I think they tried Noah Bolter down there the last couple of weeks, but he's not a Jack Riewoldt. You don't have to watch him as like you do with the Jacks. So, with the three of them down there, and they're allowed to go one-on-one, the majority of the occasions it comes in, that's a pretty formidable forward line.
And I think with them too, that they've taken 6 marks between them, and if they're taking 6 marks, the majority of those marks are going to be inside the forward 50, having shots on goal. But certainly, I couldn't agree more with you, Berkey, around the whole Noah Bolter. He's probably a solution when Riewoldt's not there, but he's not the solution going forward. I think he's great athletically. I reckon he's almost, you've got to start to look at it. How do you actually get him up around the ground and use that? What we've seen
Turn
here,
him into a bit of a weapon.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it. We've seen Carlton do it back in the day, a long time ago, back in our day, Berkey, with Koutafidis, put him in there and he's just blown away. Whether he can go inside and be that big midfielder, whether he's got the endurance strength, but he's got the power and he's got the agility to actually move like a midfielder.
Yeah, he's a pretty scary prospect if they can get him up and running and find a home for him, Noah Bolter. The early part of the season, he's kicked 8 goals in the first 3 games for the Tigers, but not needed on the goal-kicking list tonight. Richmond with an 11-point lead here at half-time. Still plenty more to come. Of course, the second half, it's a massive weekend of sports right across Australia. The WNBL finals going on tonight. The Masters, of course, over at Augusta. Just down the road, the F1 is back in Melbourne. The Australian Grand Prix qualifying today, race tomorrow, and a massive weekend of football. We'll touch on all of that and much more, and of course bring you the second half here from the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's Richmond by 11 points. For now, though, let's get you to the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Western observers say Russia is pressing ahead with its reorganization of forces to attack Ukraine's east, putting a general with experience in Syria and the campaign in Ukraine's south in charge of its forces. More from the BBC's Gordon Carrera.
The Russian forces which invaded were poorly coordinated, but now it seems Moscow is beginning to adapt. However, Western officials said they were not yet sure if Russia had learnt other lessons in terms of tactics and how it organised itself to avoid being ambushed by nimbler Ukrainian forces. They also say that Russia's new commander faces a difficult decision about how fast to move in the Donbass region. A pause would give time to regroup and prepare units, some of which have taken heavy damage, but it would also give the Ukrainians time to reinforce and bring in new weaponry.
Meanwhile, Moscow says its forces have destroyed an ammunition dump at an air base in central Ukraine. Russia's defense ministry says a Ukrainian fighter jet and helicopter were also destroyed in the attack. It comes as Ukraine says 10 humanitarian corridors will be open to besieged communities, including the port city of Mariupol, in the latest attempt to get relief to Ukrainian civilians. Palestinian officials say Israeli troops have raided the West Bank hometown of a Palestinian who'd carried out a deadly shooting in Tel Aviv this week, leaving at least 1 Palestinian militant dead. The Israeli military says its troops are carrying out what it says is a counter-terrorism operation in the city where the gunman who was involved in Thursday's attack had lived. It says Israeli troops came under fire and returned fire, but there were no Israeli casualties. Federal Labor leader Anthony Albanese has declared himself the underdog going into the federal election. It's widely expected the election will be called tomorrow for either May 14th or May 21st. Most opinion polls have the opposition well ahead on a two-party preferred basis going into the campaign. But Mr Albanese says history would suggest Labor has a challenging task in front of it.
We have a mountain to climb. The government goes into this election as favourites. Governments win get re-elected much more often than government changes hands in this country, and Scott Morrison has a considerable advantage.
The ministerial standards for federal parliament are being updated just as Prime Minister Scott Morrison's expected to call the election. The changes to the guidelines are a bid to improve the culture and working environment at Parliament House after a number of scandals. The changes include mandatory training for ministers and their staff on safe and respectful workplaces. The Attorney-General Michaelia Cash says the moves will have a positive impact.
Going forward, you will have that obligation. You will have to undertake the training, and there will be consequences in the event that a finding is made by the appropriate body against you.
There's been more chaos for travellers at airports across the country today. Passengers have endured major delays at Sydney and Melbourne airports due to staffing issues, while staffing and equipment issues at Adelaide Airport have also led to delays. There were long lines of people waiting to get through security at Adelaide, and the ABC spoke to some of them who were on their way to Sydney, as well as some who had just arrived.
Nothing we can do, just have to be patient.
Keep your fingers crossed we get the bags in time, otherwise we'll be going out for meal in what we're wearing.
Sleeping in what we're wearing.
Yeah.
It was chaotic in the morning, but yeah, good to be here finally.
It was really, really hectic. It was very unsigned, so you couldn't see where you're going, so it was just very confusing.
The Victoria Police Association says the death of a senior constable in a crash near Mildura in the state's northwest is indescribable. 25-year-old Briar Joyce was killed when a ute veered onto the wrong side of the road and crashed into the unmarked police car she was driving. The ute driver was also killed, while a 43-year-old senior constable suffered critical injuries. The association's president, Wayne Gatt, says her death is being felt across Victoria Police.
This is just another indescribable loss for Victoria Police and for our members. It comes on the back of recent losses that we've had to experience. So there's a strong cumulative impact of this incident on our membership.
And satellite images show the Brazilian Amazon lost an area of forest twice the area of Greater London in the first 3 months of this year. Record deforestation has occurred since right-wing populist Jair Bolsonaro took over as Brazil's president 3 years ago. You can get more news from our website at abc.net.au/news.
The ABC is celebrating 90 years this year, and we're inviting you to join the celebrations and share a memory of when the ABC has been a part of your story. Did Triple J unearth your band? Has Costa inspired you to create an oasis in your backyard? Perhaps you relied on emergency broadcasting during a crisis. Tell us your ABC stories at abc.net.au/your ABC story.
90 years of your stories. 90 years of the ABC.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
So Marlon Pickett, the story he was back in 2019, he kicks right on 50, sends it home, and it never looked in doubt. The Tigers will go forward now. Good mark taken at right half forward by Castagna. It's too far out to score, but there's a 50-metre penalty. Bailey Williams just half stepped off the mark. So Castagna, 15 metres out from goal, goes around the body and adds another one to the Tigers' tally.
Broad, now to Prestia and another 50. He faked the handball and Aaron Norton pivoted to try and cover it. And as he did so, stepped off the mark with his left foot. So Dion Prestia only played a handful of games over the last couple of years, besieged by injury, back into the side tonight and back on the score sheet in a big way. Bailey Smith, who dropped the mark under the pressure from Cochin, and the former Richmond captain won the footy back for the Tigers. Great stuff. Handball to Bolter, who's away with a bounce on the members' side. Kicks inside 50, looking for Lynch out the back, might find him running into the goal and jamming it through. So Norton to narrow the gap. He curls it home. That's a nice finish. And you'd expect nothing less from a player of his quality.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Richmond and the Dogs back out there about to start their second half. 11-point lead to the Tigers at half-time. Costly for the Dogs, some inaccuracy in the opening half. 7-3-45 to 4-10-34. Joel Peterson and Chris Rowbottom calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson are our experts. Lauren Borden on the boundary on Grandstand this evening. Great to have you with us. 0437 774 774. Let us know where you're listening from, whether you've been at your local footy today. Hope your team got up, or netball or hockey, wherever it is. What the local fare is in your part of the world. Annette and Stuart are heading to Sorrento from Albury to swim Pier to Perignon tomorrow at midday. So it's a 4.5k open water swim down on the Mornington Peninsula. Of course, listening to the footy on the ABC. Great to have you with us. Good luck for tomorrow. Michelle in Tassie says, hi Grandstand. Fantastic to hear Tassie's own Chris Rowbottom calling the footy tonight. Loving having the footy back on the radio. Chris, you're doing a great job. It's great to have him here. Michelle, thank you for getting in touch. Ross in Launceston's listening as well. Shirley in Mount Martha, and Bill says that the Dogs are playing like a beaten team, and Richmond they're playing into Richmond's hands. So 0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch. Earlier today, Adelaide premiers in the AFLW by 13 points. 4-5 to 2-4 over Melbourne, and Hatchard best on ground. In the AFL men's games today, earlier on, Sydney by 11 points over North Melbourne. The West Coast Eagles 13-point winners over Collingwood, and Nick Smart from the Herald Sun reporting that Jamie Elliott has gone to hospital after that game, an AC joint injury, so the shoulder, and Collingwood says it's looking like a 12-week injury, so can't take a trick with injuries, can Jamie Elliott. In the WNBL tonight, Melbourne 84 to 66 winners over Perth in Game 3 of the Grand Final Series. So the title goes to the Melbourne Boomers and Guy Malloy in his final season as coach. Lindsay Allen won the Racial Spawn medal for the best player of the final series in the WNBL Championship. Round 3 of the Masters tomorrow from Augusta. Scotty Scheffler, the world number 1, a 5-shot lead over Hideki Matsuyama, the defending champion of Japan. Cam Smith is 2 under. Tiger Woods is 1 over. 5 Australians made the cut. Smith, Minwoo Lee, Adam Scott, Mark Leishman and Cam Davis all through to the weekend. And in the Formula 1 race day tomorrow, qualifying today, Charles Leclerc of Ferrari took pole position with a blistering lap at the end of the session. Max Verstappen to start second, Sergio Perez third, Daniel Ricciardo seventh. So a massive weekend of sport ahead, massive second half ahead here at the MCG. The Tigers by 11 points as we head into it. Here's Chris Rowbottom.
Back underway for the second half from the MCG. Nankervis won it down. Bolton couldn't trap it. Prestia could for the Tigers, who send Richmond forward for the first time in the second half. Richards got across for the Dogs, got it off to Daniel by hand, who finds English. He plays on by hand. He's got a man forward of the ball in McRae. He shares it with Bontempelli. Tigers will go inside 50 via his left boot, almost taken by Scott. At ground level was Ralph Smith. Nankervis came through hard. Scott contested at ground level, gathered the footy. He's tackled and will have a ball up inside the forward 50 for the Western Bulldogs. Up it goes. Then Curvis won it down straight to Cochin. His little grubber only found Hunter. His handball was to no one in particular. Bontempelli ran onto it, got it off to Giray. He feigned one way then the other, and his kick was off the instep, but it found Liberatore. Fortuitous for the Western Bulldogs. And Liberatore is going to have a shot for goal from 48 metres out. Slight angle. Or is he? He goes inside short to Bontempelli, who just snuck inside the forward 50. And he'll kick from about the same distance, but the angle has been improved slightly.
Probably not a bad choice. Liverpool would have had to go on for the extra power, for the extra little bit of distance, and we know Bont's got the journey in him quite easily.
So Bontempelli to bring it back to a 5-point game and to start the second half off in perfect fashion for the Western Bulldogs. He lets rip from right on 50, and it's an absolute gem from the Bonds. Wonderful start to the second half for the Western Bulldogs. Marcus Bontempelli delivers. Richmond 7-3-45. The Dogs 5-10-40. Opening stages of the third term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, I was thinking to myself at half-time, how are the Dogs going to score? Because they had a forward line of Scott, McNeil, Vandermeer, Ugle-Hagan is going to do a mass king and kick 3 1/4, and Waitman's only had the 4. So it was the midfielders that really needed to get onto the scoreboard. Interesting, Vandermeer has been subbed out at half-time with Mitch Wallace coming in. I think that helps.
Let's go downstairs for more on that. Lauren Borden.
Yeah, Lathan Vandermeer, after kicking a goal early, has been subbed out at half-time with hamstring tightness. Mitch Wallace has been really busy on the boundary, though. He doesn't just sit back and relax, a bundle of energy, running along and doing some stretches, so it looks like he'll be ready to go and raring to go.
Bit of urgency to get in there. Tigers with urgency at the stoppage. Prestia to Edwards, got caught with the footy and didn't get rid of it legally. McRae wins a free kick for the Dogs. Goes short to Liberatore. Has English on inside the forward 50. Goes to Bontempelli instead, who wheels around for 2 in a minute. The skipper fires at goal and misses to the right-hand side. That would have really injected some life into the Bulldogs. 5:11:41, Richmond 7:3:45. 3 minutes gone here in the third term.
If I'm Richmond's midfield coach, I'm saying, guys, do not leave Bontempelli alone inside 50 again. That's twice.
Rioli brings it in for the Tigers. Ralph Smith marks it left half back. He's got the short option in Prestia. Thought about it for a moment, opted against it. He'll go long up the line, up the broadcast side, and then Curvis at the base of the pack later. A big tackle, and it will be all wrapped up for a boundary, well, a ball up, I should say, right in front of the interchange benches.
I can't see why that happens, Berkey, that you've got someone like Bontempelli, but no one wants to check him at all close. Like, I'd be standing right next to him every second. He's the only time they're going to get in the game with him.
Tigers through the middle of the ground, but getting across and intercepting was O'Brien for the Dogs. He'll kick laterally across goal to Caleb Daniel, who had to run onto a bouncing footy. Eventually did so and found Richards at left half back by foot for the Dogs. He cuts inside. Here's Bailey Dale. Progresses things by 20 metres. He goes into the middle of the ground where English awaits, takes it on his chest, hands it off to McRae. Bontempelli again, he's getting involved. Is the Bont, who kicks long towards goal, an open goal, and it skids through for a minor score. Bontempelli with the first 3 scores of this term. Richmond 7-3-45. Western Bulldogs 5-12-42, early stages third term for Grandstand AFL.
Ignored his 2 key forwards there that had separation, that could have marked that ball 30-35 metres out there. So a big responsibility he took upon himself there.
You want to jag those ones when you make that kind of decision, Jono.
You certainly do, especially when you're trying to get Norton and Ugle-Hagan into the game. I know Norton's kicked too, but certainly Ugle-Hagan.
Pickett from half-back, floats it down the wing. Good mark taken by Castagna, who got clattered into by Gardner. No free, which is what the Tigers fans were appealing for. Awkward kick for Cochin was short. Cochin had to go by hand back to Castagna. Now to Pickett. Puts the step on the left boot. Inside the forward 50. Bolter comes across. Nankervis was there as well. Jarrah handball through the traffic. Picked up by Dunkley. Got collected high as he got rid of the ball to Dale at half-back for the Dogs. Handball to Gardner. Diving across the kick was Baker. Terrific smother to Prestia, who released the handball forward. Cut off by Liberatore, who's in a bit of a scrap with Cochin behind the footy. Clearing kick off half-back for the Dogs through the hands there of Tarrant. Now Richmond can take control through short at half-back. Handball to Broad along the boundary line. He's pushed as he kicked and it floats out of bounds down into the umpire's dugout there. Lauren Borden on the boundary thought she was a chance to get her hands on the footy for the second time tonight. It's going to be a free kick to the Dogs. It's going to Jack McRae just forward of the wing.
So McRae, it was going to McRae, but he'll hand it off to Butler, who spears one to English, who has some space. He's just forward the broadcast wing. He goes short to half forward. Here's Norton, who marks a long way out from goal. You wheel around onto his left, put it right to the top of the goal square. 3 Dogs fly. Bontempelli crashed from the side of the pack. Couldn't take the mark. Richmond trying to work it outside their defensive 50 via Parker. He can't get a grasp on the ball. Eventually it spills out of bounds. 65 metres out from goal. Will have a boundary throw in at left half forward for the Dogs on the outer side. 7-3-45 Richmond lead by 3 points. 5-12-42 the Western Bulldogs as Nankervis takes it out of the right, got it to Baker, was tackled by Smith. His handball gained 5 metres. Dogs forced the turnover, but it was off hands and knees and will fall over the boundary line once again for another boundary throwing on the outer side.
Jack McRae up to 24 disposals for the Dogs. Bailey Smith with 22. Bontempelli with 1 goal, 2 already in the quarter. 20 disposals to go with that at the stoppage. Hunter slams it forward for the Dogs. Wallace the target, the activated sub with the hamstring tightness for Vandermeer. Lovely kick at half-back from Broad for the Tigers. Darts it down the line to Thompson Dow. Swan Hill product. Of course, brother of Paddy at Carlton. Moves it along to Graham. Graham tries to slide his kick down the boundary line looking for Parker. And it pretty easily picked off by Bailey Williams in the defensive half for the Dogs. Goes inside the back 50 to O'Brien. Dangerous kick, run down by Baker. Lynch to pounce on the turnover. You don't need to give him that kind of chance. Baker's sore after making the attempt to knock the football loose, but his effort was rewarded. And another goal for Richmond.
Fair bit of claret coming out of Baker's head here. It's streaming down the left side of his face. So that's the price you pay for a goal, I guess. Putting your body on the line. That was just great pressure. We've spoken about their pressure tonight, but it sort of lacked a little bit in the first 8 minutes or so. The Dogs were bringing the pressure, but that was a great result.
It's really the first forward entry from the Tigers in the first 8.5 minutes of this quarter. It's been all the Dogs, and when you're dominating, you don't want to give the opposition an easy one, and that's what that one was. Tim O'Brien tried to bite off too much. He saw his captain, went to him, bad decision.
Tigers out to a 9-point lead, back in the middle. Dunkley roved the English tap now to Bontempelli. He's taken by Edwards, handballed it out in front of English, who lopes inside 50. He'll spear it towards goal from 40, and he'll nail it, Tim English. The perfect reply from the big Dogs ruckman. And the Dogs hit back instantly. 8-3-51 Richmond, 6-12-48 Western Bulldogs. 9 minutes gone. Third term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, what's evident around the Bulldogs midfield at the moment is from a centre clearance, what they're trying to do is get the ascendancy on their side, and they're pushing hard forward. And we've seen Bontempelli had 3 shots already at goal from pushing hard forward, and now their ruckman has pushed very, very hard forward to get a shot on goal at the same time. So they've really got a mindset for this quarter. The Dogs is around their midfield of pushing hard forward and trying to make the Richmond midfielders a little bit more accountable.
It's the first time we've seen English really use his athleticism advantage over Nankervis. 15 possessions to English and 7 to Nankervis, but he certainly held his own.
That was a very nice bit of play. They collide in the middle there. English was in there, Dunkley and Nankervis.
He didn't like having a goal kicked on him. He wanted to make up for it, but a little bit too crude.
He took a couple down with him as well, did Big Toby. English flares it wide from the free kick to Smith. 2 kicks from home for the Dogs. Goes inside the 50. Ugle Hagen comes flying over the pack. Among it all, Pickett intercepts. Ugle Hagen came over the top of McNeil, who probably didn't quite appreciate that. Pickett goes short to Rioli, who sends it outside the defensive 50 in front of the members' stand to Broad. Tigers by 3 points. Dogs with 2 goals to 1 here in this third term through 10.5 minutes. Broad kicks up the members' side boundary line through the hands of O'Brien. Revolt sharked the handball, and Smith took his kick. He curled it up around his body, and Nankervis picked that off for the Tigers. Darts the kick forward to Prestia, who juggles the mark, looks inboard, and then looks toward the numbers of the 50 and spots up Castagna.
I don't get this going backwards off the mark 5 metres that the Bulldogs do every time, because Prestia got himself in a fair bit of sort of a muck-up then, but because the play on the mark ran backwards, it gave him an extra 3 or 4 seconds to decide what to do with the ball. So I'm not quite on board with this Bulldogs tactic.
Eyes darting everywhere here for Jason Castagna. I think the kick would be beyond him. He just measures it into the pocket for Revolt up high, can't pull it in. Smith in the back pocket, his handball stolen by Bolton, runs toward the boundary to kick a miraculous goal!
Goodness me.
Shea Bolton, not for the first time, brings the MCG crowd to its feet. The intercept and the instinctive brilliance. He is a wonderful player and such a spark to this Richmond team. Very few can do that. His second goal, and Richmond by 9 points, 9-3 to 6-12. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke. That is a hell of a finish.
Well, that's just class, talent, all bundled up in one.
That is nous, Jono.
That is nous, but the ability to kick the goal was great. But what I loved about Burkie, that he actually picked Smith's pocket. Smith went to get the handball. He actually read and anticipated what he's going to do, flipped it up with one hand and just measured it so well. Very good on his left side. We've seen so many highlights from a short career. He's only had the 9 possessions tonight, but he is an absolute dynamite.
Shea Bolton's second goal of the night, perhaps his best of the year, as the Dogs get going out of the middle through McRae. The kick was to Liberatore. He eventually gathered the ball, got it off to Hunter, who kicks the Dogs inside 50. Out on the lead was Norton, couldn't take it. Off hands Edwards now for the Tigers. Pops it into the middle of the ground. What did Nankervis? Dale read it best for the Dogs. He was wrapped up, had to retreat back to Daniel under all sorts of pressure from Bolton. Eventually Williams came up with it for the Dogs and got it to McRae, who feeds it out wide to Smith. Left foot ball now to Hunter at left half forward. He'll gather it, run towards 50, centering ball, and it's all Richmond, and Broad takes the saving mark.
It's going to come back. Boundary throw in.
So it he just had his foot outside the line as he straddled the boundary, did Lockie Hunter, and it will come back for a boundary throw in at left half forward for the Dogs.
Everyone's confused, and we've got a blood rule as well by the looks of it.
Yeah, Nankervis coming off very slowly.
So a slight pause in play here as the interchange player comes off, and Nankervis with some blood streaming, and we saw that from Liam Baker as well a little earlier. So Noah Bolter comes onto the ground as the umpire steadies himself for the boundary throw in at left half forward for the Western Bulldogs. When it comes, the Bolter does the ruck work, works it down to Cochin, who squeezes out a kick only as far as Lockie Hunter for the Dogs. This time it does go inside 50. High ball. Norton comes out and meets it, marks it on his chest. Vintage Aaron Norton, and he'll kick for goal on a tight angle 35 metres out.
Well, sometimes you just got to get the ball in there quickly. The Bulldogs love to try and create that perfect entrance, and they'll handball the ball 3 or 4 times to get somebody free, but that was just Lockie Hunter going, I'm under pressure, I'm going to bang it inside forward 50. Norton read it well, has a shot for goal.
2 for the night. Aaron Norton sporting the headband, leans back on the kick, and he's missing near side. So a minor score for the Western Bulldogs, 13-49 trailing Richmond, 9-3-57.
Broad from the back pocket. They're under pressure here, Richmond. Short tries to manufacture something on the outside of the boot, finds Broad, comes outside the defensive 50 to Castagna. Work themselves out of some trouble there inside the defensive 50, the Tigers. 8 points the lead for Richmond. Long kick up the line from Castagna. Big fist there from Bontempelli coming across the front of the pack. Giray chases it toward the boundary line. Pickett right there with him. Handball in front of space toward Bolton, who soccers it off the ground inside the 50. It's a great cross in the end. Just leaving it behind. The critical moment was Dow. 30 out from the Tigers' goal. O'Brien, the handball up to Waitman. His kick tumbles outside the defensive 50. It's going to come back though. Free kick downfield, paid in the end to Treloar. Shoots it short to Bontempelli. Receives the handball back to Adam Treloar. The Dogs bursting away down the members' side. Treloar to Giray. Back to Treloar. Got tripped up without the ball. Free kick. And Treloar can advance the ball from just in front of the members' wing.
So Treloar wins a third possession in a string after starting the string from the back pocket. He got legged and he'll cut into the middle of the ground. It's a shocking kick. It's picked off by Baker for the Tigers. He's got Bolton in a one-on-one inside forward 50. Bolton will gather, curl around onto his right, kick to the top of the square. He's got Lynch or Revolt running back. Revolt gathers, Lynch comes in to lend a hand. The Dogs' defence did well though to force it over the line, and as you mentioned, Joel Peterson, the MCG crowd just shuffled in its chairs as Bolton approached the footy. Unable to replicate the magic on that occasion. The Dogs bring it in from full back via the boot of Bailey Dale. He hits Taylor Giray. at right half back, shares it with Bailey Smith, who's got some time and space to move. He makes his way up the broadcast wing and kicks to right half forward. Fist over the top came from Gibcus towards the boundary line. Tarrant was worked off it. McNeil handball to himself. Short arrived for the Tigers. Got it off to Miller. He's wrapped up by Waitman. Fed out his handball to nobody in particular. Scrapping hard inside defensive 50. The Tigers, Edwards taken the ground by Waitman, will have a ball up 40 metres out from goal. Tigers lead 9-4-58 to the Bulldogs 6-13-49, 17 and a half minutes gone third term.
2 goals apiece here in this quarter. Norton and Bolter in ruck. Dunkley dives after the football, feeds the handball to Hunter. Did he get one in the back? Umpire said it was okay from Bolter, and he's going to be pinged here. Just came out at the last moment. Liberatore, a handball to Dunkley. Dunkley chisels it to full forward. Slapped away from Ugle-Hagan. Clever work from Miller. Knocked it down to Rioli. Clearing kick. Reaching across his Cochin. He slaps it out of the waiting arms of Josh Dunkley, and we'll have a throw-in where the boundary meets the 50 at right half forward for the Dogs.
Then the next one here, the Dogs, they're pressing forward at the moment, but they need to get a shot on goal at least. Norton had a shot a little while ago, missed, but they need to generate something here from this stoppage.
Norton and Short agitating one another a long way off the ball from the throw-in. Dunkley does the ruck work against Lynch for the Dogs. Bontempelli tries to clear with hand pass. McRae through the traffic, flicks it forward. Smith left it behind. Wonderful pick up. Dunkley hooks it to full forward. Norton almost got there. Fisted away from him by McIntosh. Pressure from the Dogs outstanding. Bontempelli handball over his head. Norton on the left boot. Swings it around the body. It swung too far. It's a minus score for the Dogs. Margin 8 points. 18 and a half gone third term.
In from full-back, the Tigers. Gibcus clears defensive 50. He finds Jaden Short at right half back. He goes up the line where Camden McIntosh waits patiently. He takes the mark. Just inside from the boundary line. He's not too sure what he wants to do here, McIntosh. Eventually just goes long towards half forward, and it was ill-advised because in fact it was Taylor Duray, got across and took the intercept for the Bulldogs. He'll concede some ground, come back inside defensive 50 to Bailey Dale with the short kick. He's going to come across the ground now towards the broadcast side. Good kick into the lap of Liberatore, who marks it right half back for the Bulldogs. He's got a man loose on the wing. It's Dunkley. He feeds it off to the running Bailey Smith, whose kick just hit Lockie Hunter inside the boundary line. Went very wide, did Smith. Hunter made the kick look a little better than it was. He cuts inside this Hunter, gains 20 metres, kicks inside 50 in the Norton direction. Had to beat 3 defenders. The Tigers one out. Tarrant shared it off to Rioli, who clears defensive 50. Thompson Dowler waits. It sits up on its end, does the Sharon. Gathers cleanly. Now hands off to McIntosh. Over the top to Rioli. Outer side, kick up the line. And again, it'll be cleaned up by the Dogs' defence. This time it is Bailey Williams who takes the mark. Plays on immediately by hand to Bailey Dale.
Dale, an All-Australian last year, to Dunkley. 41 disposals last week for Dunkley. That was not a good kick. Across the back edge of the centre square. Castagna's in on goal. Walters to 50. Launches it. Misses it right. Sliding in at full forward. Baker wasn't happy with that.
He's got every right to, Joel. That was selfish. He had the run. He was at the back of the defenders, and that was just a blaze away from Castagna there.
Margin of Richmond's is 9 points again. 9-5, plays 6-14.
So out from defence, the Dogs, but it's plucked off by Jack Revolt, who kicks hurriedly inside forward 50. He had more time than he thought. It was taken easily by Dunkley in the end, getting back in the left-back pocket. And his clearing kick found McRae. He's strutted up against the boundary line. Does he keep it in? Maybe. He doesn't. It's out of bounds on the full. Searching for Louis Butler. He couldn't reel in the mark inside the boundary line. So it'll be a Richmond free kick. Outer side between wing and half forward. Trent Cochin will pump the Tigers back inside 50. Front of the pack was Lynch, who just palmed it down to himself and completed the mark. And he'll go back and attempt to kick his 4th goal from 45 metres out. Slight angle.
I'm not sure where his opponent there was, but it was left to Ed Richards to try and jump up and spoil a guy who's almost a foot taller than him. So You give the advantage to Tom Lynch in every single one of those occasions.
So Lynch steadies himself. He'll kick from just inside 50. On a slight angle, Tom Lynch, for his fourth of the evening, sends it on its way. The banners and the pom-poms tell the story behind the goals, as do the cheers of the Richmond faithful. He adds another, and Richmond extend the lead. 10-5-65, the Tigers. Western Bulldogs 6-14-50, 22 and a half minutes gone. Third term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, it was Ryan Gardner. He was Lynch's opponent there, just as they call it, caravanning. He was just following him along, no real conviction with his pressure, no sort of body contact, thinking that Edwards was just going to take it. But look, that's just something that they've got to work out better. And this is what I spoke about at the start of the game, just around the Dogs' defence, how they're going to be able to stand up with these long balls that are coming in, both with Jack Revolt and Lynch down there. So it's been a bit of a challenge for them. They need to restructure. They need to get back to it, because obviously the absence of Cordy and both Keith is a big loss to them. So they need to knuckle down.
Back in the middle, Tigers by 15 points, and they'll take the clearance here. Prestia with the check side to centre half forward, went past Dale. Cleverly knocked up by Richards to get it back to Bailey Dale. Cuts it through the centre square to English, who drops it on the right boot looking for Wallace. Ralph Smith did enough, but infringed arm across the shoulder.
Let's see what they do here. If they go long forward, they've got one-on-ones forward, or they're going to chip around here.
Got some options short, does Wallace. He goes inside the 50 to the height of English. Couldn't mark. Nankervis, he couldn't collect. But Waitman could send it toward goal. That's knocked through for a minor score. Margin 14 points. Let's go downstairs. Lauren Borden for Grandstand AFL.
Anthony Scott was another player who came off with the blood rule for Western Bulldogs. A bit more of a concern here, though. It was by his left eye, and it could be a concussion. So went down to the rooms for a suspected concussion test. Body language not looking great on the boundary at the moment.
Ralph Smith receives from Dion Prestia inside defensive 50. He goes laterally again to Dion Prestia. He's two with a hamstring. Back tonight is Prestia. He kicks up the line to a contest. Off hands, Thompson Dow for the Tigers. Over the top to Liam Baker, who just paddles it to his advantage. And the spearing ball is an absolute corker inside 50 onto the chest of Bolter. And he'll kick for goal. 45 metres out, tight angle, to extend this margin.
Super kick by Baker then. It gave the Western Bulldogs defender absolutely no chance. Just going to do around the corner from 48.
So he'll need to get significant purchase on the footy. He hit it on the fat side. It goes straight up and down into the forward pocket. And that's a mark taken by Revolt in the right forward pocket, somewhat fortuitously falling back. And he'll have a shot for goal. Significantly closer, of course. I think he'll tight angle.
He'll think this one through a little bit better than Noah Bolter did.
So Revolt steps in, goes round the body and nails it. Revolt kicks his first upon return, and the Tigers stretch the lead to 20 points, 11-5-71. 6-15-51 the Western Bulldogs, 25 and a half gone. Third term Grandstand AFL.
Well, the reason why he's got the ball is because of himself. The ball before it went into Noah Bolter, Rewalt had a contest in the middle of the ground in the centre wing here on 4 Bulldogs. Brought it to ground. Ball was able to go forward, and then he ends up with the ball in the head. I know Noah Bolter coming across. It almost looked like one of those kicks out of a rugby game where they're just putting it high and just trying to gain some territory.
Bowden Barrett style.
Yeah, but look, I think Jack at the moment, he's not. I don't think he's a possession player. He's a player that wants to motivate his team. And look, if he can get a couple of goals and be able to be that contest in the aerial component and bring it to ground, that's his job done. But fantastic mark, great finish.
Just like Damien Hardwick drew it up, hey Berkey?
Absolutely.
From the restart, Tigers come forward again. Here's Bolton, sends it to full forward. Rewalt waiting at the front of the pack, got tackled as he went to get the kick away. Terrific chase from Richards to dispossess him. And now they can repel the defence, the Dogs. Bailey Smith running at halfback, sends it down the line. Broad got a hand in to knock it to ground. Short toes the boundary, happy to step it over and out. And a throw in. So it's a game-high 20-point lead. And it's some worrying signs for Luke Beveridge as he heads to the back of the box and maybe makes his way down for the three-quarter time address.
At this point, last week they were 25 points ahead.
It's a good point, Berkey, and St Kilda rattled home through the agency of Max King. Throw in on the wing. Goes through a couple of sets of hands for the Tigers. Broad a handball forward under pressure from Waitman. Picked up by Nankervis. Prestia's handball went straight to Bontempelli, who couldn't collect the loose ball. Dogs back in possession at right half forward. McRae spears it to the chest of Norton. Tigers fans not happy. Norton very happy with the delivery. He's got it 40 out on a 44, worse than a 45-degree angle, 10 in from the boundary to the right.
Great use of the body there by Norton. He led back towards goals, pushed off Tarrant, his opponent, then came straight back at the kicker. Impossible to stop as a defender.
2 goals, 3 on the evening for Aaron Norton. To say they need it is an understatement. His kick floats from right to left. It fades across the face. It's slapped through on the line. And the margin is 19 points at the 28-minute mark of the third term. The Tigers in charge.
Short brings it in short to Gibcus in the right back pocket for the Tigers. Runs his full measure, kicks beyond defensive 50, only as far as Dale for the Dogs, who will go inside 50 now through Scott. Piercing ball. Well, he had McRae all alone, but he missed him straight over his head. Tigers defence to mop up through Castagna. He missed the handball. Now it's with Treloar of the Dogs. Shrugged the Ralph Smith tackle. Flying shot on goal, and he missed. Minor score to Adam Treloar. 11-5-71 Richmond. Western Bulldogs 6-17-53. Late stages of this third term.
What would they give for their 9-17 they kicked last week?
Yeah, anything a little bit bigger in that first numeral would be terrific. 6 goals, 17. So they've had more behinds than the Tigers have had total scoring shots at 11 goals, 5. Castagna long up the wing. Broadcast side of the ground. Offhands it's taken by Bolton, who lit this crowd alight earlier in the term. Inboard they come here, Richmond. Some good work from Edwards to Prestia and now to Baker, who's marked on the front edge of the centre square. Goes inside to Revolt, who marks right on the paint of the 50.
The Bulldogs' pressure has just really dropped off. Tigers being able to just cut their way through, not normally by hands, but mainly by using really good short passes.
And Jack's going to have to send a long one after the three-quarter time siren.
You go the torp, what do you reckon from Jack?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Right up the barrel.
Man on the mark is right on cue. He's going in the short run-up, which normally says torp.
Won't be going the Noah Bolter around the body. So Jack Revolt to load up the barrel after the three-quarter time siren. Gets a good piece of it. Launches it from outside 50. Turns to the MCG crowd with a big old fist pump. And says, I am back. And he's mobbed by teammates after the three-quarter time siren. A big lift for Richmond heading into the final change. A game-high 24-point break. 12-5-77 to 6-17-53 with a goal to Jack Riewoldt after the three-quarter time siren with a big torpedo from outside the arc. 4 goals to Tom Lynch, a stunner to Shea Bolton among his 2 in that term, and a couple to Riewoldt. 718 in his Richmond career, the 11-time Michael Roach medalist. Goals to Prestia, to Castagna, to Dow and to Pickett. For the Western Bulldogs, 2 goals to Aaron Norton, goals to English, to Vandermeer, to McRae and to Bontempelli at three-quarter time. 24-point lead to Richmond as we turn for home. It's all in front of Luke Beveridge and the Western Bulldogs as they try to avoid A 1-3 start to the season. Final term on the other side of this on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Did you know that ABC Listen has a little sibling?
Hi.
The ABC Kids Listen app with music to move and podcasts to play. ABC Kids Listen stimulates curiosity, fires imaginations, and fosters good listening skills.
Wow! That's a funny noise.
Discover a world of entertainment that will spark creativity in the minds of your little ones and get them up and moving. Download ABC Kids Listen today, free from your app store.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
So Bontempelli to bring it back to a 5-point game and to start second half off in perfect fashion for the Western Bulldogs. He lets rip from right on 50 and it's an absolute gem from the Bonds.
Pretty easily picked off by Bailey Williams in the defensive half for the Dogs. Goes inside the back 50 to O'Brien. Dangerous kick, run down by Baker. Lynch to pounce on the turnover.
Dunkley rolls the English tap now to Bontempelli. He's taken by Edwards, handballed it out in front of English, who lopes inside 50. He'll spear it towards goal from 40 and he'll nail it, Tim English. The perfect reply from the big dog's ruckman.
Smith in the back pocket. His handball stolen by Bolton. Runs toward the boundary to kick a miraculous goal.
Goodness me. Tom Lynch for his fourth of the evening sends it on its way. The banners and the pom-poms tell the story behind the goals, as do the cheers of the Richmond faithful. He adds another. So Revolt steps in, goes round the body and nails it. Revolt kicks his first upon return.
So Jack Revolt to load up the barrel after the three-quarter time siren. Gets a good piece of it. Launches it from outside 50.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Quarter of highlights if you're a Tigers fan. You went into half-time with an 11-point lead. You came out of it with a 24-point break that looks pretty commanding. 12-5-77 Richmond. 17 scoring shots for the Tigers. The Bulldogs with 17 behinds. 6-17-53 to three-quarter time. Joel Peterson and Chris Rowbottom calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, your experts, and Lauren Borden is down on the boundary for us this evening. Earlier today, winners in the AFLW Grand Final, a third flag from 5 attempts from Adelaide. 13-point winners over Melbourne and Hatchard best on ground for the Crows. In the AFL men's competition, Sydney by 11 over North Melbourne. The West Coast Eagles by 13, a pretty inspiring win over Collingwood. And, of course, in the WNBL, third game of the finals earlier tonight, the grand final series. Melbourne by 18 points over Perth to win the title. They lost the first game, won the second two, one in Perth, one here at home. And Lindsay Allen, the racial spawn medalist, as the player of the final series. 4-goal lead to the Tigers at three-quarter time. Berkey and Jono, that looks a pretty commanding break.
It does. Looks a very big break. And the worry for me for the Western Bulldogs is that they've got a lot of non-contributors in this game. Their guns are getting Dunkley, Bontempelli, McRae, Smith, Dale. They're getting a stack of the football and Hunter. But Scott, McNeil, Ugle-Hagan, Waitman, Williams, Butler, they're just not having any influence on this game. So if they're going to get back into the game, those players really need to step up and have big last quarters, Jono.
You're spot on, Berkey. And the one guy that I sort of watched and I've seen Lynch get sort of the upper hand on him and was young Ryan Gardner. He's only 24 games into his career, but he's getting a lesson tonight. I watched him a little bit in that quarter, and he was just not trying to give any physical anything physical towards Lynch, and you've got to do that as a defender. You've got to, if you can't keep up, you've got to try and grind away. So I reckon you're right. The contributions between their lower half at the moment isn't acceptable.
Who takes it home from here, Jono? Tigers or the Dogs?
I think the Tigers, if they keep up their pressure.
Berkey?
They have to. Otherwise, they're mentally shot.
25-point lead for Richmond in the third term last week. St Kilda turned that around. Can the Dogs do the same here? Bontempelli wins a free kick out of the middle, takes the advantage, got run down by Graham. Bolton picked it up for the Tigers and sends a high kick to right half forward. Clever from Bolter, kept it in, around the body. Baker ran onto it, dragged it down without the football and earns a free kick.
I think Baker did extremely well to make that look a lot worse than it actually was.
Played it well, didn't he?
Good done, the big Superman.
Just stuck the arms out, went lunging forward. Made sure the umpire saw every bit of it and then some. Liam Baker, equal second in the best and fairest last year. Played every game for the Tigers. 3 goals in 3 games coming into tonight. From the right forward pocket, tight on the boundary line, 40 metres out, leaves it narrow all the way. 25-point lead to Richmond. 78 plays 53, and I think Tom Liberatore making sure he knows he didn't quite earn that one.
Bailey Dale with ball in hand for the Western Bulldogs, runs his full measure out of full back, takes a bounce and eventually just opts to go short to Tim English at right half back. He cuts inside to Treloar. Dale kept running, received the handball, kick towards the outer side wing. Dunkley had to work to pick the ball up off the deck. He eventually got it to Richards, who got it back to Dale, now back to Richards. Under the pump here, the Dogs on the outer side. Richards now with a kick towards half forward. Smith couldn't take the mark. Liberatore gathered. He was taken over the boundary line. As it stayed in, and Smith's kick was wild and out of bounds on the full. Richmond free kick at left half back.
Yeah, just outstanding pressure from the Tigers.
So in it comes via the boot of Broad. He goes short to Rioli, who marks right on the paint of defensive 50. Left half back. He'll spear one inside to Short, who takes the mark. So much of the football in the back half for the Tigers to Short. His kick towards the wing is ill-affected, and Dunkley gets across with the fist and knocks it out of bounds for a boundary throw-in.
Going to have to take a few risks here. The Bulldogs can't just afford to just go up and down. They've got to use the corridor. They really got to get the ball out wide. That's not going to score heavily. They need to take risks through the middle.
So English won it down, straight down to McRae, who was immediately wrapped up by 2 Tigers. And we'll have another stoppage. On centre wing, outer side. Up it goes. English down this time, straight to the path of Prestia for the Tigers. He got it up to Edwards, who got it to Dow by hand. McIntosh with a 5-metre kick to Short. He cuts inside and kicks inside 50 for the Tigers. Big contest at centre half forward. Baker came through, couldn't gather cleanly. Eventually ended up with Treloar. Might have been a throw. Umpire said no. Dunkley got it off to Treloar, who kept running, and now he hits Bailey Smith on the chest, just back of the wing, outer side for the Western Bulldogs.
Coming up for disposal, number 32 is Bailey Smith. Likes an option in the centre of the ground, swings the kick in that direction to Daniel, who backpedals and releases the run of Ed Richards. On the left boot, chips it forward to Giray as Lynch fell over in the centre square. Giray into the pocket for Waitman, who slides out, tries to bat it back inside the field of play and can't. A throw in 40 out from the Dogs' goal left forward pocket.
And Waitman just worked hard at that position. You looked at Ugelhagen and Norton, and they were still sitting at top of the goal square, Berkey. They just didn't work as hard. They just didn't want it. Waitman wanted it more.
Ball flung back in. Nankervis front spot against Norton. Slaps it down toward the boundary line. Bontempelli, clever tap to McRae. Norton from the boundary line tries the check side. Flares it across the face of goal. Miller rushes over to the ball but can't keep it in the right, or the left back pocket for Richmond. And another throw in still deep inside forward 50 to the punt road end for the Dogs. A 25-point gap they've got to make up. 4 minutes gone last term.
Dogs need a goal. Can they fashion one from the stoppage? Norton over the top, won it down. Tracked back to the boundary by Miller, who sees it over for the Tigers. And we'll have another boundary throw in 5 metres around from the right-hand point post for the Dogs.
Tight old affair in the other game tonight, Chris. The Dockers by 2 points at three-quarter time, 52-50.
Norton won it down again, only as far as Tarrant, whose kick was half smothered. It tumbles out beyond defensive 50. Hunter will get there first for the Dogs. Handball over the top. Now to McNeil. He sends the Dogs to the top of the goal square. Norton direction. It couldn't drag it down, but won a handball out to McRae, had to go and fetch it. Daniel missed it, tried to get it back to McRae, eventually ended up with Richards, who finds a target inside 50 in Dunkley, who marks 40 metres out from goal directly in front. He'll kick from 45.
Need this to go through if there any chance to get themselves back into this game. Can't be 6 goals 18 and expect to beat the Tigers.
So huge kick in the context of the outcome of this match. Josh Dunkley yet to hit the scoreboard tonight. Can provide a real lifter to his team with a major here. He steps inside 50. It's an absolute potato sack and it crashes into the right hand behind post. That's not what the Dogs were after. Out of bounds on the full.
Just leant back on it a bit there, Josh. His ball drop wasn't the greatest, and then all of a sudden just leaning back and trying to correct it and trying to chase that ball drop. Never good when you've been shot on goal.
Tigers kick into Dow. So he's got 4 behinds on the season, Dunkley. He missed a couple of big opportunities late last week, 2 against the Swans. Set shots, pretty regulation stuff. I think he kicked 2 behinds in the last quarter. They were better than that, though. That is for sure. Tarrant, 14 seasons at North Melbourne before he headed across to Tigerland in a trade that saw Callum Coleman-Jones go to North. He hasn't been able to really get on the park in David Noble's side in the first 4 weeks. Ralph Smith's got it in front of the interchange gates. High kick inside the 50, right to the edge of it for the Tigers. Williams took it off hands for the Dogs. The 2 Baileys combined, or 2 of them. Bailey Williams to Bailey Dale, who kicked looking for Treloar toward the outer side. Cut off by McIntosh. Sends it back inside the 50. Bolton wanted to run and jump. He got nudged under it, and then Williams stepped it across the boundary line in the back pocket for the Dogs. And we'll have a throw in. Left forward pocket, tied up against the behind post. Richmond into attack. They lead by 25 through 7 minutes of the last.
Chance here for the Tigers to really put the pressure on. In it comes. Nankervis works his way to the front. Almost took it cleanly. Was down to Dale. Williams was worked off his kick. In fact, he's been pinged for holding the ball. He dropped it clean. And the Tigers will shoot for goal 20 metres out via Nankervis, the big ruckman. And it's fair to say this would hurt. So Toby Nankervis, the big Tasmanian, the co-captain for season 2022, ambles on in, pumps the fist and sees it through. And that may be the dagger for the Tigers. 13-6-84 Richmond. Western Bulldogs 6-17-53. 8 minutes gone. 4th and final turn for Grandstand AFL.
Well, he's done well, Nankervis, but look, probably not a clear winner between he and English. They're just completely different styles of ruckman. English is always going to get a lot more possessions, but what English doesn't do is he doesn't use his frame to create space and create some fear with the opposition small players around a contest, and that's what Nankervis does. He creates space for his small players really well. He gets his body in there, he knocks players over, and they as a midfielder, you love playing with those sorts of ruckmen. For the team's perspective, yeah, English is great, getting up and down the ground, getting lots and lots of possessions, but give me that big, rough, tough guy in the middle any day.
It's the gentle giant versus just the old-fashioned giant.
Absolutely. Give me the old-fashioned giant any day.
Treloar up from the stoppage at the back of the square. Shoots the hand pass to Dale. Kicks toward Caleb Daniel, who left it behind under pressure from Pickett. Run down, caught, holding the ball. No legs. Out of zone umpire paid it. The umpire in the area wanted nothing to do with it.
I think that was right call. The tackle was on the hips and he slid down and got him around the knees.
Did well to get the smallest bloke in the competition below the waist as Waitman chisels the pass inside the 50. Wallace read it well. Treloar got taken down in the tackle. That will be rewarded. And guess who? Nankervis again. He is throwing his weight around. And Tigers fans will be very warmed by that. He shoots the kick to Miller. The Tigers come across the defensive 50 through Short and now out to half-back from with Ralph Smith.
Ralph Smith, left foot ball, up the wing, finds McIntosh, who marks in front of Bailey Williams. Slows things down, concedes 15 metres back to Jaden Short. And he goes inside now to Trent Cotchin. So right on centre wing is Trent Cotchin, who goes towards left half forward for the Tigers. 2 Bulldogs defenders got a fist in each. Smith was ripped off the ball. He might not have had it. Umpire said it was fair. Richmond will come up with it here. Parker lost it. Rioli was tackled. We'll have a ball up on the edge of the centre square. As the pressure mounts on the Dogs, they trail by 31. Up it goes, straight down to Cotchin. He ended up laying the tackle. It was too high. So a Bulldogs free kick here. Back of the square to Jack McRae, who emerges with the footy, and as per usual, he's had plenty of it tonight.
You made comment before, Berkey, that they've got to take some risks. At the moment, they're just trying to go wide, and turning the ball over as they just did then.
This time it was Bolton who effected the turnover, got it off to Gibcus, who chiselled short to Lynch. He's 75 out from goal at right half forward. He's slowed things right down. In fact, he'll square things up into the middle of the ground where Trent Cotchin awaits. He takes the mark. And in no hurry here, the Tigers, a 31-point buffer. Eventually, he'll dump it long to the top of the square. Coming out was Revolt, was worked underneath it, wanted a free kick.
Against Lynch.
It's against Lynch. So it'll be a Dogs ball in the left back pocket to Gardner.
11.5 gone, final term. 31-point lead to Richmond. Gardner drives the Dogs outside the defensive 50 to a big pack. Gibcus among it, so too Norton. Norton got a hand to it out toward the boundary line where the Broad is chased by the wonderfully hirsute Lachlan McNeil, who's got an absolute ripper of a moustache. It's Movember-like. McNeil in for his first game tonight, debuting the new look on the big stage on Saturday Night Football. McRae tackled toward the boundary line. Cotchin can't keep his handball inside the field of play, over and out for a throw-in. 13 goals, 684 Richmond. The Dogs quite the inverse of that accuracy, 6-17-53. Came into the night converting at 49%, the Dogs, which was good enough for 14th in the competition. They could only dream of that kind of conversion rate so far this evening. Graham at the stoppage for the Tigers. Handball sharked by Dunkley. Feeds it back to Treloar. Jams it on the boot. Broad with courage. Goes in front of Norton. Spitting through the traffic there was Butler. Did enough to force it loose. Got it to Norton. Back to Butler for the Dogs. Kicks inside the 50. Ugle-Hagan across. Can't get a hand to it. Dunkley's there inside the forward 50 for the Western Bulldogs. Rioli does well hard up against the boundary line. Handball to Gibcus. Slams it outside the defensive arc taken by McRae.
McRae, left football inside 50. Through the hands of Treloar. Picked up by Butler. He shared it with Wallace. Back to Butler. He's absolutely nailed by Jack Graham. Umpire says, I'll have it, please. 45 metres out from the Western Bulldogs goal. They need one desperately as Bontempelli does the ruck work straight down to Cotchin. He was ripped off his kick by Liberatore holding the ball. It'll be a Dogs free kick. So Liberatore here will go back. If he wants to take his set shot, he'll kick from right on the paint of 50. Only a slight angle. It looks like he's going to get things moving relatively quick as he just dabs one into the pocket, Norton direction. Fist came across. Ugle-Hagan keeps it in just. Norton is taken over the line with the footy in hand and will have the boundary throw in. 10 metres around from the Western Bulldogs goal. 13-6-84 the Tigers. They lead by 31, 6-17-53 the Western Bulldogs. Bontempelli rips it out of the ruck, tried to get it out to Bailey Smith. He's been pinged, and Richmond and their defensive pressure win the day again. Across goal go the Tigers. Parker shares it by hand to the running Rioli, who comes inboard. Kick wasn't a great one for Graham. Chance for Liberatore to swoop on a loose footy. He shares it with Scott, who just dribbled it forward, and it was an average attempt on goal as the Tigers easily mopped things up via Tarrant, who got it to Castagna. They're now at right half back via Baker.
You can't dribble the ball when you're 30 metres out. There's 4 people in front of you in the goal square.
Generally doesn't pay off, that manoeuvre. Baker down the line with the kick for Richmond. Smith knocked it down, collected it at ground level. Handball from Richards, cut off by Prestia, who works his way forward. Just massive kick to fall forward. Lynch up high, can't take the mark. Oh, great tackle! Winning the free kick is Parker. He ran down Williams, who didn't hear the footsteps. And Matt Parker's going to have a set shot from 35 metres out directly in front.
Well, they've brought this all night, the Tigers. They've brought this pressure in their forward line all night. It hasn't gone missing at all. They've tried to keep it up for the 4 quarters tonight, and we're in the 15-minute mark of this 4th quarter, and they're still keeping the pressure up once they're out to a 31-point lead. It's good signs for the Tigers. Noah Bolter being pushed into the ruck now as well.
They've put the pressure on in the context of the game, Richmond, and they're putting the pressure on the Bulldogs season. Parker puts another through. Richmond out to a 37-point lead, and this is getting pretty ugly for the Dogs. 14-6-90 the Tigers. The Bulldogs 6-17-53. 16 minutes gone in the last quarter. They look skinny up front, the Dogs. They look skinny down back, and if you don't have your bookends in place, Berkey, generally the books fall over.
Yeah, and you hope that the ones who come in are serviceable, but tonight they haven't really been serviceable. They haven't really had any impact in how the team has actually performed. So, yeah, they've missed those big plays up at either end, and there's no guarantee they're going to get them back anytime soon. So the next couple of weeks is a pretty much defining moment in the Western Bulldogs season.
37 points the advantage to Richmond halfway through the 4th and final term, and they'll go for it again here through Bolton out of the middle, but only as far as O'Brien, who marks on his chest at right half back for the Dogs. He kicks to a one-on-one out of the wing. English couldn't take the mark. Castagna at a best off the hands. He'll kick Richmond inside 50. Lynch traps it on the bounce. Tried to get the handball to Edwards. Did eventually. Got it over his head. Was claimed by Daniel. He was claimed by Revolt. We'll have a ball up 30 metres out from Richmond's goal. They lead by 37 points. As the Dogs stare down the barrel, English and Lynch do the ruck work. Parker sharks the tap. He tried to work at the Cochin. He did eventually. He was tackled by McRae, and the ball spills out of bounds for a boundary throw-in. 40 metres around from Richmond's left behind post.
Umpire spins it back in. English assumes front spot against Lynch in the ruck. Bolton weaves some magic out of the stoppage, but puts the step on, shoots it toward goal. A low, flat kick. He's through for a minor score to the left-hand side. It's a 38-point lead to Richmond. 14 goals, 7, 91 to 6, 17, 53. The Dogs haven't scored here in the last term through 18 minutes. The Tigers have kicked 2 goals, 2, and are running away with this one.
Through the middle of the ground they go, the Dogs. They need something. Waitman couldn't take the chest mark. He was mobbed by Tigers, who come up with the footy. Short shares it with Rioli, who goes laterally to Castagna. Short ball onto the wing is good to Bolter. He points to the mark where Butler stands. Bolter goes back. Inside he comes. He'll go long inside 50. A shallow entry in the Lynch direction. Couldn't take the mark on this occasion. Off hands. Bailey Williams working hard for the Dogs. It's tied up against the boundary line. Daniel in a phone box. Gets it off to Liberatore. Back to Gardner. Kick partially smothered as he attempted to exit defensive 50. Parker put the move on Daniel, but he got him in the end. Now it's Pickett. He's stripped of the footy. On hands and knees now. It ends up with Short. Cuts into the middle of the ground, but Waitman got across, couldn't complete the mark. Dunkley, hands and knees. It's turned back over to the Dogs. There's been a whistle. It'll be a push in the back, and it will go to Dunkley, who got out of jail there. The Tigers were off, and they had options inside 50.
Over in Perth, a 13-point lead to Fremantle. 8.5 minutes left in that game. 64 plays 51. Bontempelli's kick to half forward for Wallace. Marks 65 metres out. Looks inside the 50. Norton front spot. Tarranta clearing Chris from behind. Clever from Cochin just to knock it on into the path of Pickett. who cruises outside the defensive 50, whacks it toward the interchange gates. Baker front spot, Giray over the top, gives away a free. They've had plenty to cheer about tonight, the Tigers fans.
They're 38 points up and they're still giving the umpires Bronx cheers.
They could be 100 points up. I think the Richmond fans would still be in that mindset, Berkey. Presti has got it for the Tigers right on halfway. Can he measure the kick for McIntosh? The boundary umpires say yes. And the Richmond fans weren't making any noise there, just to be ultra careful. McIntosh from 65 metres out. Kicks to the pocket. Oh, Bolton, a huge rise. Tried to pull in mark of the year. Pulled it in on the deck after all that. He was first back to his feet. His right foot kick is away to the right for a minor score. Gee, that was another moment of brilliance from Bolton, and the margin is 39 points.
Caleb Daniel directly up the spine, but it's turned straight over to Dion Prestia, who takes the mark. He hands off to Short, who'll send a long, strong goal home from 55, Jaden Short, and that just about does it if it wasn't over already. Richmond 15-8-98. The Western Bulldogs 6-17-53. An exclamation mark from Jaden Short.
Well, just trying to chew off too much that you can bite there. Caleb Daniels coming up the middle of the ground, but then the Bulldogs players just caught napping, thinking, you know, the one weapon that Jaden Short has is a 60-metre raking kick outside forward 50. I'd be doing everything I possibly can, or even, and that's probably just a lack of urgency that the Dogs have got at the moment, especially in this last quarter, that they see the game's over, and there's just been very, very lack of concentration, urgency through this whole last quarter, and he was able just to waltz in just to 55 metres and just kick the goal.
Let's go downstairs, Lauren Borden.
Well, the Matthew Parker goal sent plenty of Western Bulldogs fans packing, and that Jaden Short goal has seen a lot more go up the aisles and out of the MCG.
Yeah, the next train to Footscray will be pretty packed, I'd say, Loz. From the middle, the Dogs come forward. Wallace couldn't handle it. The Tigers' defence again. Broad's been good tonight. Directs the pass there for Nankervis in front of the interchange gates. His kick a little bit less well directed. Ralph Smith ran it down. Handball inboard taken by English of the Dogs. On the AFL logo for Treloar. Smith went looking and hand pass no look style. McRae got tackled immediately by McIntosh. Only a split second between receiving it and receiving the tackle. And the ball's locked up, and the Tigers fans again applauding the efforts of their side. Dion Prestia getting a hell of a round of applause earlier coming to the bench. 30 disposals and a goal on return to the team. Best and fairest in a premiership year in 2020, and such an important part of this Richmond side. Edwards lays a tackle on Hunter. Ball going nowhere. Still locked up on the wing. Richmond by 45 points late in the final term.
Shades of the premiership Tigers in terms of the pressure that Richmond has been able to apply tonight. It's been something to behold. Dogs ball on this occasion, though. Daniel feeds it to Richards, who streams off half back. Ball into the middle of the ground is a good one to Dunkley, who takes the falling chest mark. He kicks a short one inside, directed for Ugle-Hagan, was over his head, couldn't complete the mark. Ralph Smith missed the ball. 3 Dogs to 2 Tigers. Ugle-Hagan comes up with it, dragged as he handball, turned it over to Baker. Now Rioli managed to get a handball while being tackled by Treloar. Baker just paddles it to himself, eventually hacks it 30 metres up the broadcast wing. Lynch lost his footing, and it's gathered by Gardner, who comes inside, but Bolton pounced out of nowhere, took the mark, turned it over, hits Bolter inside 50. Shea Bolton has done it all tonight, and he may have set up another goal as Noah Bolter goes back, and he'll look to kick from 40 out, slight angle.
It was all brilliant by Bolton, but Bolter wanted the ball back towards the goal a little bit more, and what Bolton was able to do is actually force Noah Bolter to come at him somewhat and put the ball out in space and actually identify and kick that ball to space and making, because if he had kicked it straight to him, it would have been a spoil and would have come to ground, and they would have been away, the Dogs.
So Bolter, the key defender, turned key forward, kicks from 40. It's across the face and hits the behind post for
kick like a defender.
No score. He certainly did.
He hasn't learnt that part of the switch yet.
At least he didn't go around the body.
So no score. Richmond 15-8-98. Western Bulldogs 6-17-53. Deep into the final term here. the MCG as Daniel resumes things. He goes wildly across goal where Bailey Dale awaits. He's got an overlap runner if he wants it, and a 50-metre penalty, the third of the night, as Jack Riewoldt encroaches over the mark ever so slightly, and Dale's going to run his full measure and be taken all the way to centre wing. He tries to just kick over the top. The Richmond defender, eventually it ends up with Treloar, who have a flying shot on goal from 40 metres out. Adam Treloar, he'll kick a consolation for the Dogs in the shadows of full time. And they got it moving quickly and got just reward. Richmond 15-8, 98. Western Bulldogs add one more. 7-17, 59, 25 and a half minutes gone. Fourth and final turn for Grandstand AFL.
Well, that was another 50-metre from a player who was standing on the mark, and in his mind he's going, well, I'm going to go back 5 metres, but exactly the time he moved, the umpire yelled stand, and once they said stand, you can't go back 50 metres, and pretty much a direct result goal. So we've had 3 of those tonight. Let's hope they don't happen in a final. A bit of a consolation there by the Western Bulldogs. So last week they kicked 9-17. They're up to 7-17. Can they
can they match their mighty feats?
Their mighty feats of last week, the 9-17. I doubt it.
A couple of minutes left in the game. Bontempelli rips it out of the middle.
Oh, here we go.
Goes inside to find Wallace on the chest, 45 out. So broke a run of 7 straight Richmond goals, the goal from Treloar. They hadn't scored since the 28-minute mark of the previous quarter. They hadn't kicked a goal since the 9-minute mark of the third, the Dogs. And they might get 2 in a minute here. Mitch Wallace, the activated sub, with the hamstring complaint for Latham Vandermeer. Will have to kick from just inside the 50 on the right boot. And he misses. He tugs it left. 7 goals, 18. So they won't be able to match their feats from last week, Berkey. 38 points the margin, 27 minutes played here in the final term.
McIntosh gratefully receives the kick in from Jaden Short in the right back pocket for the Tigers, who have been so impressive tonight. His kick not so impressive. It's out of
50
bounds on
coming
the
up
full,
by, yes,
and a 50-metre penalty.
Yes.
So Lockie Hunter here will receive the footy and be marched within range.
The ball went out of bounds on the full, and Baker, he deliberately punched the ball into the crowd. And well spotted by the umpire. It wasn't a marking attempt, it was just an attempt to slow the game down.
So Lockie Hunter, a chance for him to also earn a late consolation goal. He'll kick from 30 metres out on a slight angle. Hunter comes in and he sprays it across the face for a minor score, and that's the story of the Dogs' night. 7-19-61 the Dogs. Richmond 15-8, 98, and it comes once more. So that man Jaden Short, who has been allowed to do as he pleases in the Richmond defensive half. He kicks long towards the wing off the hands of English for the Dogs. There's been a free kick for him over the shoulder. It will be a Western Bulldogs kick. They play on via advantage. Caleb Daniels spears it low onto the chest of Dunkley. He's right on the paint of 50. Bontempelli just ambles on past. He sends a deep left foot ball to the top of the goal square. Nothing doing for Aaron Norton as Pickett gets the crumb and rebounds off defensive 50, where Parker awaits and takes the mark at left half back.
A couple of mid-season draftees out of Western Australia combining. Parker kicks up the line, looking for Castagna. Got there eventually. Chips it inboard. Graham for the Tigers. Now to Baker. 37 points the margin as Baker sends it inside the 50. Riewoldt marks. Floated over the head of Richards and Jack accepted it in.
And there's the difference between the two teams. The Bulldogs got the ball on the wing and they hit, I think it was Dunkley, right on the 50-metre line. The Tigers go forward and Riewoldt marks it 25 out.
So Jack kicked one after the three-quarter time siren with a massive torpedo to the punt road end. He can finish things off here to the city end as well. For his third goal, Riewoldt can't find the finish. But Richmond have found a way. They've mauled the Dogs, whose early season woes deepen. Richmond by 38.
In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and chin. If we're behind it, never mind, we'll fight and fight. We're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tigerland. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
It was the Dogs who had the early advantage. They led by 5 points at quarter time and cost themselves with the inaccuracy, kicking 2 goals, 7 in the opening term. It would be the story of their night. Richmond kicked 5 goals in the second term, banged on 5 goals in the third, and finished with 3. The Dogs left languishing. 7 goals, 19 on the evening. Richmond with 24 scoring shots of their own. And in the end, it was the Tigers that made it look easy. 4 goals to Lynch, a couple for Revolt, some highlight reel moments throughout, and the Tigers square the ledger at 2-2.
In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and shin. If we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
3 in a row for the Tigers against the Dogs. A win in each of the past 3 seasons. Tonight by 39 points, 15-9, 99 to 7-19, 61 the final score. And Richmond, in the end, did it rather easily, trailing by 5 points at quarter time, leading by 11 at other half, by 24 at three-quarter time, increasing the lead to 38. And Luke Beveridge and the Bulldogs coaching staff sitting in the coaching box, taking a moment to think all that through. The Dogs came in 12th. They will exit no higher at 1-3 on the young season. 4 goals to Tom Lynch, 2 goals, 3 to Shea Bolton, including an absolute special in the left forward pocket at the punt right end. 2 goals, 2 to Jack Revolt, including a massive barrel after the three-quarter time siren. Goals to Castagna, to Parker, to Prestia, to Short, to Nankervis, to Dow and to Pickett. And for the Bulldogs, 2 goals, 3 to Aaron Norton, 1 goal, 3 to Marcus Bontempelli, Treloar, Vandermeer, English and McRae, each with goals for the Dogs, and a host more chipping in with behinds as they amassed 7 goals, 19, the Western Bulldogs. In the other game that's in progress over in the West, Fremantle have kicked away from the Giants in the final term. 6 goals straight for the Dockers in the fourth quarter, and they lead that one 13-10-88 to 8-6-54 with a couple of moments to go. Brisbane Lions champion Chris Johnson, St Kilda champion, current AFLW Western Bulldogs coach Nathan Burke watched it all with us on Grandstand AFL. Burkey and Jono, that's a very good win for Richmond. There's some worrying signs there for the Dogs though, Burkey.
Yeah, big worries for the Dogs. You could just say they kicked 7-19 from 58 entries, so they got the ball in there a lot, but it was just inaccurate kicking. But that would be far, far too simplistic to assess the Western Bulldogs. Their top 5 players had a total of 171 possessions between them, so the top 5 averaged 34 each. It was the bottom ones that really, really killed them. Ugelhagen just a 5, Vandermeer went off. Like McNeil just had the 5, Scott had the 5, Waitman had the 8, completely beaten by Rioli, who ended up with 25 and kept Waitman down to 8. Butler only had the 9, Gardner the 9, Duray 13, Williams 14. They just got no input from that bottom half of the list, and that's what killed them tonight.
Yeah, and the thing that sticks out to me out of that, Berkey, is a lot of those guys are at both ends of the ground. You've got guys that are obviously the forwards and the backs. Ryan Gardner spent a lot of time out in the ground. If you can't get more than playing in a back line, getting more than 9 possessions in a back line, where we know the modern game has changed and it actually has been quite rewarding for the back line players to actually get their numbers up, and he was unable to do that. Butler at half forward was unable. Duray, who normally is around that sort of 20-25 possession player within the Bulldogs consistently, he only managed 13 disposals through it all. But for me, looking at the Dogs, I think it's the connection from their midfielders. The midfielders have got no worries about getting the ball and the way they use it. I'm just concerned and how laterally they go, Berkey, when they're coming forward. They want to go laterally. They want to keep sharing it amongst each other. Back in our day, we'd call it waxing, and that's what they're doing instead of going forward. And it doesn't give the confidence of Norton, Ugelhagen, and even Waiton to that level as well to present up at the kickers. And, you know, they just look to go towards their smaller likes so much in their forward line. But on the other hand, I think Richmond brought their pressure from day dot, from the first bounce right through. I know they trailed in the first break by 5 points and then gained it by 11 points at half time. But I just thought they brought their pressure. They were really, really good. There were some things that I could see within the Richmond Football Club that it was the old Richmond Football Club. They hunted in packs. Once they won the ball, they spread. And I think one of the positions that I'm really liking at the moment for the Tigers is that young Rioli. He's not so young anymore, but that position there, pushing him back, Daniel Rioli back to that half-back flank or that back pocket or that small forward role. 25 possessions, you know, he's moved through the middle of the ground at various different times of running and carrying the ball in that back half. So he's had 5 scorer involvements as well. So that's a massive tick for me on the Tigers front, because they need to change something up what they've been so strong in, and that's one thing there that looks very, very good for me.
And the other thing that I love about the Tigers is Hugo Ralphsmith had 19 possessions. And what I loved about him tonight, he never concedes a possession to his opponent. So there was a couple of times there he was on a half-back line. He's a half-forward, would lead up through the middle. A lot of half-backs just say, OK, you can have that one. I'll slow you down, allow our players to get in behind. But he doesn't. He gets a fist in. He's fighting on the ground. He never concedes anything. I played with his old man. He's going to be a better footballer than his old man.
Well, he's a pretty handy footballer, and quite the converse from Richmond to the Bulldogs, that they did have the depth of contribution. So the younger players like Gibcus and Ralph Smith and these kind of guys did step up and had an impact. And you look at the lower lights in terms of just the sheer numbers. Noah Bolter, 8 disposals, but did some good things. The next one's Tom Lynch, and he kicked 4 goals as well as his 9 touches. So a pretty handy contribution. It's actually the first time in the past, or only the second time in the past 3 seasons that Tom Lynch has kicked 4 goals or more. So he did it once last year. Didn't do it at all in 2020, of course, with the shortened games, and the first time for this season. So it's a very good sign for Richmond when Tom Lynch is up and about and kicking goals. The Tigers are filtering into the rooms, about to sing their song. They're 2-2 on the campaign, Richmond, after a 38-point win over the Western Bulldogs. And as they come in, let's send it downstairs to Lauren Borden, who's in there on grandstand. Loz, they'll be a pretty happy crew, I'd imagine.
They are pretty happy. They're a pretty loud crew as they make their way into the circle here. They're getting a few assistant coaches to come in, so pretty happy to get their second win of the season as they gather in to sing the famous song.
Point winners, Richmond, 15-9-99 to 7-19-61. Jaden Short to join us very shortly with Lauren Borden in the Richmond rooms. In the other game tonight over in the West, Fremantle 13-10-88 have defeated the Giants 8-6-54. Freo putting 6 goals straight in a final term blitz. The Giants with 4 behinds in that final term. Will Brodie, the first-year Docker coming from the Gold Coast Suns, former top 10 overall pick out of Shepparton, going to the Suns, had 36 disposals this evening. Tim Taranto with 31. Nathan O'Driscoll in only his third game, 2 goals, 2 and 20 touches. Travis Collier kicked 2 for the Dockers. So too did Frederick. 2 goals each to Green, to Hogan, that's Tom Green, and to Himmelberg for the Giants. So a big win to the Dockers, a big win here to Richmond. Earlier today, a win to the West Coast Eagles over Collingwood, so WA will be a pretty happy place, you'd imagine. Sydney, a win over North Melbourne by 11 points. And in the AFLW, Adelaide by 13 points over Melbourne to win their third premiership in the AFL women's competition. Let's head back down into the Richmond rooms on Grandstand AFL. Lauren Borden is with Jaden Short.
Jaden Short, second win of the season. Nice way to do it. You slowly built that lead. What were you happy with about the performance out there?
Yeah, probably just matching them in the contest, to be honest. They're a great contested team. They're a great in and under team, so we had to sort of match it with them. And I thought our boys did well, and it was great to get the win.
And you did build that lead in the third term. Was there something in the back of the mind, just knowing not to let that lead slip again?
Yeah, I suppose a little bit, but no, we just back our process, I guess, and we just wanted to continue on in the fourth quarter like we did in the third quarter. So we just stuck to what we know, and the boys dug in, and it was good.
And you did well yourself, racked up quite a few possessions out there. How did you feel yourself?
Yeah, it felt pretty good, obviously. It's good to be out there playing. That's what I enjoy doing. I just enjoy playing with the boys, and I just love the support I got down the back line, and I really enjoy playing with everyone.
And after a slap on the back from your skipper, not your skipper anymore, but Trent Cotchin, we'll head up to the rooms and up to the commentary box, rather, where we'll get a few questions from Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson, our experts.
Jaden, Nathan Burke here, mate. Excellent work. Well done. 36 possessions. Hang on, they've just taken one off you. They've just readjusted. You were 36 and now you're 35. What's the most you've ever had in the game?
Oh, fuck. Geez, that might be it, I think.
That might be it. And a goal?
Thanks to Dion. Yeah, I haven't had one in a couple of years, so I'm always lurking around, but yeah, lucky Dion gave it off.
Very good, mate. You've got a few extra plays down there. Young Rioli and Ralph Smith really earning their stripes down there in that half-back line.
Oh, 100%. They've been amazing. I'm really enjoying playing with them. Obviously, losing Basher last year, and then you've got blokes that can step up and really come in and fill that role. Ralphie and Daniel, they're just playing amazing footy, and I'm just glad they're on my team because I really enjoy playing with them.
Yeah, tonight I'd probably, you go back to the old days of the under-12s and they'd put the best players and they'd say there was a team effort. I think tonight was one of your classic team efforts. Did you feel like that out on the ground, or was that sort of Dimmer's message that there needed to be a team effort to beat the Dogs?
Yeah, 100%. It's sort of been something we've always prided ourselves on. Not relying on one or two players to win us the game, and sort of we need to rely on everyone playing their role. And I thought everyone did, and it's just good that we got the reward in the end and we got the win. So, no, I'm pretty proud of the boys.
And Jade, just a quick one before we jump in, Jono. We have got confirmation from Joel down here that your previous best was 33.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
PB.
Happy days. Jade, Chris Johnson here, mate. You'd be very pleased to welcome both Jack and Dion back into the side. They really fitted in nicely tonight.
Oh, they're amazing players, and it's obviously been amazing players for many years now, and it's just good to have them come back, and obviously with a few injuries, but they're amazing to play with, and you just trust them so much with what they're going to do, and they're great.
One thing I've noticed tonight from the Richmond outfit, and it looked like something that you were getting back to your best football, and as Berkey said, it was a bit of a team effort, but your pressure was really, really up tonight from the get-go. Was that something that, I know it's obviously a focus every week, but certainly this week it looked like it was a key focus?
Yeah, we sort of know that when we do bring that pressure, the game starts to turn our way, and it's just about doing it for 4 quarters, I suppose. And I think the boys did this day, and it's just sort of something we want to continue to do every week. But I've got to give the benefit to the forwards and the mids, I suppose. I don't really defend too much down the back line, but
hey, we don't.
They
Mate,
do a
you
good
don't
job.
need to defend, mate.
Jaden, Chris Rowbottom here, congratulations on the win. We've spoken about how much of the footy you had tonight. You had the 35, but it's also what you did with it too. 810 metres gained tonight. You're the number 1 ranked metres gained player in the comp at 659 per game. Did you get a sense of any sort of hard defensive opposition, I suppose, or any sort of defensive plan for you? Or it really seemed like from up here you were able to run around and do largely what you wanted, and I think that was best illustrated by that goal you kicked late as well. Did you feel like there was any sort of defensive plan put into you, or you're allowed to roam?
No, I sort of just try to play my game every week, to be honest. I'm not really sure if anyone sort of come to me. I suppose they didn't, but the forwards, they can damage me the other way as well. So I suppose I've got to have my head switched on when it comes to defence as well. It's probably not all about offence. I'd like to say it is, but I've got to defend sometimes as well. But but they've got some crafty forwards, and I reckon they're better off not playing on me and just doing what they do.
And going back to last week's game against the Saints, you're up by 25 points, got overrun in the final quarter or in the second half. Was there a sense of that out there once you got retained a lead tonight, once you got up by 4 or 5 goals, that it was about not letting it slip like you did last week, or implementing some plans that you might have spoken about during the week?
Yeah, look, we did speak about it during the week, and I suppose it's just, like I've said before, just keeping our pressure up, and we sort of went away from that in the last quarter last week against St Kilda, so it's sort of something we spoke about throughout the week, just to continue that for the 4 quarters, and I think the boys bought in the last quarter, and it was good that we could hold on, yeah.
Jayden Short's with us on Grandstand AFL after Richmond's 38-point win over the Western Bulldogs. You mentioned that you don't defend a hell of a lot, Jade. You are part of that defensive group, though, and there's a few new faces among it. I mean, Ben Miller's in his 5th year on the list now, and he's getting an opportunity. Robbie Tarrant, after 14 seasons at North Melbourne's come across, and young Josh Gibcus, your first pick at the draft, has slotted in nicely, and he already looks like a player for the future. Talk to us about getting some of those new faces settled into your defensive unit with the departure of some of the likes of David Asprey, and of course not having your co-captain Dylan Grimes out there at the moment. Yeah, I suppose we've lost Tigger as well. He's out injured too, and I mean, yeah, it is. I didn't really think about it until you just brought it up then about how young and how new the blokes are that are playing in the back line. But I'm wrapped with how they're going. They just want to learn and get better every day, and they make me want to get better as well, because they're very keen to improve their game, and I'm just lucky, that I've got their support down there, and I'm absolutely loving playing with them, and I just love being out there every weekend with them. And Shea Bolton, we saw him take that absolute hanger against the Cats last year. Tonight, the goal from the left forward pocket, just running headlong straight toward the boundary, and thinks, I'll be able to ping this back on the left boot. You've played with a few players in your time at the club that can do things that most can't with the football. One D Martin might be among them, but Bolton's he is a special kind of talent, isn't he? It must be good fun to watch him from out there and see some of the stuff that he can do.
Oh, he's just amazing. The way he goes about his footy, he's pretty special, and what he can do, I don't think a lot of people can. So, like I said, I'm wrapped to have him on our team, and I enjoy watching him from deeper. He just puts on a show every week, and that's one thing about Shea. He's pretty consistent, and he just shows up every week for us and plays his role. So, yeah, he's been great.
And it's a big week of sport, Jayden. We've got the Masters on, we've got the F1 on tomorrow. Any of that take your fancy? What's your your plan for the rest of the weekend? Will you be perched in front of a TV somewhere watching one of these great international sporting events on at the moment?
Oh, I live with Liam Baker. He's a really big golf nuffy, so we've had the Masters on flat out. But I am going to the F1s tomorrow as well, so that'll be my first time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Who's your tip? Charles Leclerc's on pole, Max Verstappen second, Daniel Ricciardo 7th after qualifying today.
I have to say Ricciardo's an Aussie, so it'll be good to see him win down here.
Love that. Do it Hungary style. Get someone to take them all out at the first corner and let him cruise through.
That's it.
Jayden, you don't know much about F1s, do you?
Nah, I watched that Drive to Survive. That's the only reason I'm going.
Good call, Jayden. Well played tonight. PB in terms of disposals for you. Big win for the club. Go and enjoy it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jayden Short with us from the Richmond rooms with Lauren Borden on Grandstand AFL. I don't think he's alone as people that have just picked up F1 in the last little while. Record crowds at Albert Park. It's going to be a massive event tomorrow. Charles Leclerc on pole for the Australian Grand Prix to come your way from 3 o'clock tomorrow at Albert Park.
Do you reckon if I had thrown him a DRS question, do you reckon he would have been able to answer it?
What did you think of them getting rid of the 4th DRS zone at Albert Park? I think his head would have been spinning at that point, Jono. There's every chance. So Richmond winners here, Freo winners with that final term blitz over in the West tonight. If you're a Dogs fan, we'll try and get some reaction from their rooms for you as well, but interested in your thoughts if you're on the train home listening, or you're in the passenger seat of the car. 0437 774 774. Where are you on the panic meter at the moment? At 1 and 3 for the Dogs. The saving grace is, and you mentioned it earlier, Berkey, that the next few weeks are pretty critical for the Western Bulldogs. They play North Melbourne, who are 1 and 3. They play Adelaide, who are 1 and 2. They play Essendon, who are 0 and 3, and they play Port Adelaide, who are 0 and 4. So it's after a pretty tough start to the year. The next 4 weeks seems like there's a few winnable ones in there, but nothing's a huge certainty at the moment.
No, and they've got to win all 4. And as I said,
and then you just back it basically even.
Yeah, you've got to keep at least to the halfway point. You've got to keep round about that 50-50 and then have a big run home. Couple of things stood out. They had 47 more possessions than the Tigers. Yet metres gained, they were minus 741. So 700 metres less from 47 possessions more. Shows me that they're, as you keep saying, Jono, they go backwards and sideways and too many handballs. They kicked 19 points, but it wasn't laughable because they weren't missing from dead in front. They weren't running up and goal missing. There wasn't a lot of that. The things why they were missing is they were having shots from 10 metres in from the boundary at 48 metres out or 50 metres out. The entries, if we had the heat map of where they're having the shots from, I guarantee you it wouldn't anywhere be the hot spot sort of within the goal post or point post range up to around about 30 metres, that sort of rectangle. Everything was outside of that. And the same thing as last week. So whilst they say, yeah, we were inaccurate, I think it's more to say about where they're kicking the ball inside forward 50. And that just shows to me that they're completely disjointed down there. Hagen and Norton aren't working well together at all. They can't put English down there for long periods of time because they don't have another ruck. And so he has to stay up there. So they're really trying to manufacture some sort of forward line. And then when you put Scott and McNeil and Vandermeer and Waitman down there, that's not going to fill you with a whole bunch of confidence either.
The one thing I noticed with the Bulldog forward line, yes, they've got Norton, Ugle-Hagan there, but they're deep 50 forwards. They're not up the ground 50. They're not up the ground forwards where they're going to crash. And I see tonight, and I look at Jack Weaver and I look at Lynch together as well. Is even though they both kicked 6 goals between them, 4 to Lynch and 2 to Rewalt. They were up the ground, and when it was their time to be up the ground to contest with the ball, they were up the ground. Where I don't see Norton and Ugle-Hagan up the ground enough to be able to compete up in the middle, or be that get out kick, or even be the get out kick into the middle of the ground as well to straighten them up a little bit.
Ugle-Hagan needs to learn how to use his body. Every time he goes for the ball, it's just I'm going to try and out athleticise you and just run straight at the ball. And his opponent goes, yeah, I'll just give you a bit of a shove here, and I'll give you a bit of a shove there, and right at the last minute he's not getting the ball. So in the juniors he could do that. He could just run around, not touch anyone, just be athletic.
And he's not creating the space. Norton tonight we've seen create the space, but I think the separation that when the ball was coming into him a couple of times, I think there was a few times that it went into him deep. He just couldn't get that separation. Even if it was a couple of inches, the defender was all over him. He just hasn't got the strength enough to be able to push that. He's got to try and use a little bit of that strength. He's got to get in the gym and get a bit stronger.
And defensively, we know they're without Keith and Cordy. So their opposition tonight coming into the game was converting at 61% in front of goal. And then Richmond have gone at 15 goals 9. So they've conceded 14 goals 13 against Melbourne, 16 goals 6 against Carlton, 9 goals 6 against Sydney last week, and then 16 goals 9 tonight. So they're obviously not forcing very tough opportunities at the other end either, which is a bit of a concern for them, because their defence was probably the weak point of their side last year. You know, you sort of looked at them and thought maybe that those key defensive roles were where they might have had a weakness last year. They've taken a step back in that area this year. Then that is a concern.
Yeah, and the Tigers only went inside forward 50 48 times and scored 24 times. So every second time they went in, they scored.
And a goal from every 1 in 3.
That's not good enough. That's not going to beat, certainly not going to beat good sides, and it's not going to beat potentially middle of the road sides like the Tigers.
And it sort of seems at least at the moment, the Dogs are struggling to be even that right now, even with that dominant midfield. They are in a team meeting at the moment, the Bulldogs. That may drag on. We'll see whether we can get you some reaction. We're with you for about another 9 minutes. We'll squeeze the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. I'm
on roster today.
You're on roster. I like that, Jono.
So
we'll give you
Burke and I have been very, very kind to each other when sharing it up a little bit. So, look, it was quite an easy night for the votes tonight in terms of which side you want to pick. But I'm going to go with one vote with Bolton. I thought Bolton was fantastic tonight. Look, he didn't have a lot of possessions, but some of the X factor that he brought to the game, especially his goal, and there was a few other little bits and pieces in around his pressure and stuff like that, and his use of the ball at various different times. So I'm going to give him one vote. And I'm going to give 2 votes to Tom Lynch. Come back into the side. He's kicked 4 goals. I know he didn't have a lot of possessions, but I thought he just straightened them up and gave them a lot more confidence to go deep into that forward 50, and especially when he was presenting there.
Pretty imposing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly was. And look, there's a number of other players that probably were worthy of those, but I just thought that he was a key to, especially in that third term where he kicked those 2 goals in the middle part of the game, kicked 2 in the second, 2 in the third, where they sort of got out to a bit more lead. And then obviously, our guest that was on here just before, Jaden Short, his metre gains tonight were over 810 metres. He's had 35 possessions. A lot of them were uncontested, which is okay. 7 inside forward 50s. So he really had a day out. It's his highest possessions of his career. I believe you told us that before, Joel, but he gets my 3 votes tonight.
So Jaden Short, 3 votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year from Chris Johnson. Tom Lynch with 2, Shea Bolton with 1, and they're just replaying that goal that was rather remarkable from Bolton. I mean, there's not many players that can get the ball and just run toward the boundary line, not even try and turn back toward the corridor. He just runs toward the boundary line, and then with the left boot, with the ball sliding from left to right across the goal, there's not a harder kick in football, really, than that, to get it to start at the left-hand goal post and drift, but not too far, and then just get it to drop. It was incredible. It may not win goal of the year, but in terms of craft and the way he thought his way through that kind of a situation, had an ouse written all over it, John.
Yeah, it certainly did. And then there's a way to kick the ball, and to be able to make it go, especially if you're a right footer, to make it go right to left, or left to right, which way you want to call it. And the same thing with the left footer with his kick. He made it go right and just fade a little bit left towards the end. So there's a bit of a cross or a hook that you put in with your hip that can actually fade that back as it's coming down on the projection to the ground.
I reckon Shea Bolton will have a pretty long highlight reel before his career's done. Remember the best goal that you kicked in a game?
I got my best point in a game, that's for sure. It was 2001 grand final here, running through the middle of the MCG, taking 3 bounces and then hitting the point, hitting the post in the last kick. But not a goal, no. I think maybe there was one at there's one over at Subiaco maybe one day. I got it right on the boundary, and to be honest, I was centering the ball and it ended up going in. So I don't know. No, yeah, that was probably about the only one I can remember.
Berkey?
I was in goal of the week once. It was down at Geelong. I could tell that the player was going to tap the ball towards the boundary line. And so I read it on the boundary line. I've actually done, one of those low bananas.
Yes.
That go really low and curve in. But the goal umpire sort of went flying over to the side. And I thought, I'll go back and I'll watch this. And the commentator's gone, and Burke's kicked it. Oh, and he's put it straight across the face because he's watched the goal umpire go flying across. It should have been, he's kicked a banana. But no, the goal umpire, that was a goal. So I completely took the wind completely out of my sails by some terrible commentating.
What I want to know, who beat you in goal of the week?
Don't know, to be honest. I spat the dummy and didn't watch anymore after the commentary. It just deflated me.
Would have wanted to be good, that is for sure. So Richmond 38-point winners here tonight, 15-9-99 to 7-19-61. The other winners today, Adelaide winning the AFLW Grand Final. So the 3rd Grand Final for the Crows. Berkey, that's a fair old effort.
Yes, the Adelaide State of Origin team won their
He's no
3rd
more.
out of 5th. Is no more. Hopefully it's
today.
no more. Hopefully half of them and then have gone across town and playing with Port Adelaide next season, whenever that may be. But well done, Matty Clark. He coaches that team really, really well. They've got some outstanding players, and they certainly made hay while the sun was shining.
They did indeed.
And they've got a few NT players too, haven't they? They've made it sort of an affiliated team with the Northern Territory at the same time.
It was initially, but I think the Gold Coast Suns now have got that zone. So it was. So initially it was Northern Territory, South Australian State of Origin team, but then they took NT off them. And women's football in South Australia is very, very strong. You get the pick of every young under-18 player coming through there. You should win 3 out of 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sydney and the West Coast Eagles winners as well. Fremantle here at the MCG. It was Richmond who got the job done. Haven't been able to get some reaction from the Bulldogs room. Still in the team meeting. They'll be very disappointed with their performance tonight. Thanks to Chris Rowbottom for joining us here. Thanks to Lauren Borden on the boundary, to Jono, to Berkey, to Jules here, to Adam back in the studio. The Tigers, big winners on Saturday night footy. Here's how it sounded on Grandstand AFL.
pump it long for Richmond. He's got Bolton at the back. He used his body and took the chest mark, and he'll kick the goal 25 metres out, slide angle. Bolton plays on, kicks around the body, and nails Richmond's second.
Tigers by a point, closing in on quarter time. English in ruck for the Dogs. Knocked out. Norton collects, snaps, and curls it home.
Pickett, the story he was back in 2019. He kicks right on 50, sends it home, and it never looked in doubt. So Bontempelli to bring it back to a 5-point game and to start second half off in perfect fashion for the Western Bulldogs. He lets rip from right on 50, and it's an absolute gem from the Bonds.
Pretty easily picked off by Bailey Williams in the defensive half for the Dogs. Goes inside the back 50 to O'Brien. Dangerous kick, run down by Baker. Lynch to pounce on the turnover.
Dunkley rode the English tap now to Bontempelli. He's taken by Edwards, handballed it out in front of English, who lopes inside 50. He'll spear it towards goal from 40, and he'll nail it, Tim English. The perfect reply from the big Dogs ruckman.
Smith in the back pocket. His handball stolen by Bolton. Runs toward the boundary to kick a miraculous goal.
Goodness me. Tom Lynch for his fourth of the evening sends it on its way. The banners and the pom-poms tell the story behind the goals, as to the cheers of the Richmond faithful. He adds another. So Revolt steps in, goes round the body and nails it. Revolt kicks his first upon return.
So Jack Revolt to load up the barrel after the three-quarter time siren. Gets a good piece of it. Launches it from outside 50.
So Toby Nankervis ambles on in, pumps the fist and sees it through. And that may be the dagger for the Tigers. Dion Prestia, who takes the mark. He hands off to Short, who'll send a long, strong goal home from 55, Jaden Short. And that just about does it, if it wasn't over already.
But Richmond have found a way. They've mauled the Dogs, whose early season woes deepen. Richmond by 38.
In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and shin. If we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
Tune in to Nightlife with Philip Clark and Indira Naidu.
True fear is a full body experience. Could the secret to recovering from fear be in our DNA?
Thought-provoking discussions to get you through the night.
Many men from middle age onwards find themselves depending on their spouses for most of their social interactions. We're going to explore how and why. So many men seem to struggle to maintain friendships.
Nightlife, every night from 10 p.m. on ABC Radio. For the latest sports results and stories from around the globe and at home, check out ABC Sport on our social pages. Just search ABC Sport wherever you scroll.
The Year That Made Me. Our next guest on The Year That Made Me is a man who